Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I think basically what I'm going to do is a new intro right now, no matter what, so that I've got more of a cohesive show. And hope that it kind of makes sense if I do that. Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? It's week 186 on Sunday Live. We've had some technical issues, but we're sorting them out. I made delicious coffee, so I got that going for me. 3 shots this morning with coconut milk creamer. One thing I kind of discovered is that oat milk screws me up. If there's anybody out there that likes oat milk, you'll know how sad that is, because I truly love the oat milk, and it's just a drag if I can't have it anymore. Anyway, it doesn't appear like it's getting faster, so we'll just, the internet, we'll just keep it this way. I'm just gonna have to keep looking away from the screen. Can we get a VH solo on Insta every Saturday? That Hot for Teacher was sick. I put up a little Hot for Teacher solo yesterday. I love that one. It's a funny solo because it's so, you know, he plays so effortlessly, right? Like, of course, because it's his style. So when he played, it was effortless, and it was how he felt comfortable playing. When pretty much anybody else does it, I think, including me, it's like being an actor. Like, you have to like really get into the role, and it's not you. Exactly, right? And that makes sense because it's not you. And then you just have to like, I have to work at it. And I guess the more that I did it, the more that I do it, it becomes more of kind of like, okay, like you internalize that style or whatever, and you get used to it and stuff like that. And it becomes sort of what you do. But like part of what you do too. You know how that is, like you're a product of your influences or whatever. But I guess my point is I have to stay up on it. Like I can't just, if I don't practice that style, I can't just pick up a guitar and do it like he could, you know. Like it's like I have to work on it. Like, you know, you have to and the fact that he came up with that stuff, like the Hot for Teacher solo, to me is so crazy because of the phrasing. And it's like him and his brother, you know, joined at the hip, you know. It's such a wild thing, that synergy they had, like that rhythmic synergy growing up playing together and stuff, and how they just played off one another, and how they always knew, because it still sort of doesn't make sense to me in the middle. It's kind of like the Unchained solo. It actually rhythmically, I don't really know how to count it, you know, exactly what's going on, like phrasing wise, and I don't know if Eddie would have either. He just felt it and did it, you know, and it was so cool. It was so cool. But anyways, really incredible. Just great stuff. So yeah, somebody said you have to get inside the mindset. That's Kay Campbell. Yeah, that's it. You really have to just it's like being an actor. I remember somebody telling me like being a sideman is like kind of like being an actor when you're learning parts and playing, you know, if you're doing Pink Floyd songs and you're learning the solos, or if you're doing, you know, I like when Van Halen songs, when the solos are really, it's kind of funny because Eddie like never did them exactly the same way twice. I feel like he sort of quoted himself a little bit and then he'd go off and improvise and do his thing, you know. But I like it if I see other people do it, I like them to nail it. I don't know. The one guy that can kind of really do it great and take off and do his own thing, I think, because he has internalized the style so much and he does it great, is Stroud. He really sounds like, he can sound like Ed, but like he can improvise around that style. That sounds really amazing to me, you know. I guess I'm sort of learning how to do that a little bit more, but Al's really exceptional at it. Let's see, there's somebody up there, Mr. Viger up there in the super chat says, what is your choice for a patch bay? I'm using a TRS patch bay. Just, it's inexpensive. It's not, you're asking about XLR. Most people don't really use XLR patch bays because the connectors are so big, right? So it's either TT, that would be the small old school 70s and 80s. All the studios had TT patch bays, which is it's a jack that looks somewhere in between a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch, really. You know, and you could put, I can't remember how many points you can put on a TT panel, maybe something like 70 something. Whereas on a TRS patch bay, it's a 48 point situation. So you could fit way more on a TT patch bay as far as the connectors go. But you know, nobody really uses those in home studios. I don't see anybody. You kind of have to. I tried to wire a TT patch bay once, and I worked on it for like a week, soldering all the like 77 connections on the back of this patch bay, and it didn't work. You know, had a lot of like problems and stuff. And then the studio guy that does studio wiring, this kind of tweaker dude, came over that did a lot of studios around town and stuff. And Mr. Solderer guy, like it's just a certain kind of guy that gets into that stuff, you know. He came over and he looked at it, and he's just like, he didn't even say anything. He looked at my work and he goes like, and I said, kind of, is it salvageable? Like, can you? He didn't even say anything, and he just unsoldered everything and started over. I was like, oh, I guess I'm terrible at that. And that was the last time I ever attempted that. Anyways, I'm not great with a soldering iron. I'd love to get a lesson on how to solder properly. You'd think I would have done that by now with knowing folks like Dave and John Sir and stuff. But one of these days, I'm going to be like, can you just take 15 minutes and show me how to solder properly? But Henrik, thanks for the super chat there. Appreciate that. I appreciate it. I do. And for those just joining, I keep looking away from the screen because I'm on my phone because of my crap internet this week. So I'm doing the show on my phone, but I'm looking at the questions coming in over on the screen here. So I'll keep coming back to you. Somebody says they were the old telephone line style patch bays. Yeah, I guess that's it. Maybe TT was like from like phone company sort of. Yeah, they look like those similar cables, I think. I don't know if this ends were exactly the same, but anyway, I use TRS and it works fine. I've got a Behringer. That's right. I've got Behringer stuff. It's just a Behringer 48 point. You know, I believe they're like good quality. I think they're like Neutrik connectors or something in it. And you can set each thing for like not connected from the top to the bottom, whatever you call that, and then normaled or half normaled on the connections. And I have mine kind of custom half normal for some of them. And 48 points is really all I need. Somebody's saying their super chat vanished. Sorry about that. I might be able to go back and find it in the chat here. We'll see. What else we got here? Yeah, I remember on your show, John S. said, my soldering iron is always hot. That's probably true, I think. Todd says I have a handsome side profile. Thanks a lot there, bud. Appreciate that. I have things are falling apart around here. I have this iPhone tripod, but one of the legs broke on it, so it's now fixed at one height, and that's why it's kind of low, and it is what it is. I'm going to order another one. I'm going to order new internet because Spectrum can kiss my ass. It's unbelievable. Aaron says a super chat disappeared, so I'm sorry about that. I don't know. You can just ask again, Aaron, whatever your question was, and I'll go down to the bottom in a second here. Can you show us the repetitive chromatic picking sequence in Spanish Fly? Where did you see me do that? Nathan Liberty's saying. I couldn't see. This is one of those things. I couldn't pick up a guitar and play it right now to save my life. But if you gave me 2 hours, I could do it because I don't remember it. I learned it for something for the classic rock show. Is that maybe where you saw it? And that was the only time I ever learned Spanish Fly. And the middle part in the middle, the middle part in the middle, the fast kind of picking thing in the middle is that was always the tough part for me. And then I got it. I was like, oh, I understand what's going on now. But I couldn't pick it up and play it right now because it was like back last Christmas when I did it or something the last time. So I could maybe do a lesson on it or something on how to play it. Oh, what else we got here? Let's see. I'll look for that super chat that I missed, as well as just a couple more. A little bump for the Sue Everybody fun. Thanks, Scott. Sue Everybody. Sue Spectrum. Sue Everybody. I like it. Thank you, man. I'd love to see the Classic Rock Show in Dublin. I saw you play a show at the Olympia Theatre with Melissa Etheridge. It was a great show with a great band. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember that gig. Last 2 times I was in Dublin with both fun shows. I remember playing there with Chris Cornell, and I remember playing there with Melissa. So it's been a long time, though. You know, I haven't been to Ireland since the Melissa. That would be almost 10 years ago now. So kind of crazy. If not 10 years, it might be 10 years. Scott says that Classic Rock Show on hiatus. Actually, we just announced a bunch of dates. So if anybody's over in the UK, there's there's like 30 dates, and looks like that's all happening. So sue them for punitive damages. Exactly. Ben's found the disappearing super chat from Aaron Short Music. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it, dude. I need your help this week. I need your help every week. You're the best, Ben. I would like to build a nice analog style board that can be used into a clean amp or a multi-channel amps effects loop. Is there a way to do this? Sure. Nice analog style boards. Well, okay, so the number one thing is, if it's analog style, you're probably talking about guitar pedals, Memory Mans, Boss Chorus, things like that, right? And you're talking about pedal level effects then. So the one concern is that you're going to want to have pedal level effects loop in your amplifier, which like my PT100 has. Some amps have a switch to go between pedal level and line level effects, but that's the only thing. You know, it just depends on what amp you have, really. What modern amp you have, if you can switch it to like a pedal level loop, so that you don't overdrive the, you know, things like a Memory Man that have no headroom. You know, they're really low headroom, so it's like that's the only thing, putting them in an effects loop as opposed to running them in front. So it's more, I think, a thing of having an amp with a good loop that's buffered right and pedal level, you know. But the only thing about it is you're not going to want to run your drives and your and compressor and things like that probably in the loop like pedals. So, you know, my board is configured to do what you say, actually, either run in front of an amp or run in the loop of an amp. And the way it's done is because I have a patch bay on the side of my board where I can run. So I have my switcher, my Musicom Lab switcher with all my gain pedals, a Phase 90, stuff like that, a Mobius, stuff that's in front of my amp, generally speaking. And then I have that on a patch bay. The in and the out for that part of the board essentially is on the side of my board on a patch bay, right? And then I have another input that goes into two H9s and a DD500 delay. Most of the time that lives in an amp effect loop. But if I want to, I can simply jumper using the board, the patch bay on the side of the board. I can simply jumper from the output of the first part of the board, the gain pedals and all that, into the DD500 and the two H9s, right? Take the outputs out of the patch bay and then go right into the front of amps. So I can do it either way. So that's how you do it. So yes, it can be done, and you know, depending on the amps that I use, and I have done that with different, you know, different rigs, different tours and stuff. I've run everything in front for one tour in particular. I did that. Are we going to get some quad Cortex captures from you, says Braxel. How do you like your quad Cortex? Are you enjoying it? I'm trying to change the subject. Yeah, I eventually here I will do some and make them available. Why not? Why not? Did you have a different approach to the production of your demos when you're working at home before you build this studio? Well, the main thing is I wouldn't. It depends on which studio you're talking about, because like for a while I had. If you ever saw like my videos 10 years ago, I was in a house kind of in Santa Monica, and I had a, you know, where it was sunny, kind of nice actually, to have windows. And then for a while you saw me do them at a place in Studio City that I was living in, and that was actually like a condo kind of place. So in the house I had, well, it wasn't really a house, it was a triplex kind of thing, but I had one adjoining wall to a neighbor. But I didn't really bother them when I played loud in there. So I had a cabinet that was set up in a closet and muffled and everything in there and mic'd. And so and a big portion of my first record was done in there, Guitar Nerd, with that mic'd 112 kind of setup. And I was just getting into kind of the load box speaker simulation thing as well around that time. So I did a little bit of both types of things there, but I was still miking primarily, I think, in there using the cabinet in the closet. It sounded fine. It sounded great. Little Bogner 112 I had in the closet mainly. When I was in Studio City and the other kind of condo place, I did a lot of videos there that if you've seen my videos, you've seen them. I was using the reactive load in the aux, so no speakers in that place, because that was like literally like a neighbors around kind of thing. I loved recording there though, I must say, because it was like the windows were amazing. I had like this all the way around. It actually like looked out onto the LA River, which isn't beautiful, but it was like kind of actually where I was. There was a lot of trees. And, you know, it was just pretty. It was like a nice spot where it was like I could sit there and play guitar. And sun would go down. It was a nice vibe. I guess that's the thing that I probably miss being in a room like this. Like it's great in here, and I can work in here, and it's awesome, no big deal. But I do miss windows sometimes. So, but you know, I was renting that place. I wanted to buy something to live in, so I ended up moving out of there and getting something else, and now I don't have that place anymore. So that's that story. But yeah, the main thing, technically speaking, would be that I was using only load boxes and speaker simulation. You know, and so that would be the difference living in a different place. That said, I did a lot of parts for Pete Thorn too in that place. You know, a lot of things using the aux and stuff. And I actually, when I started using the aux, I started printing effects a lot, like because I liked the delays in it and the plate reverb and stuff. So I would print. You know, I did a lot of solos and stuff in there. The one other big advantage to that place is that I've spoken at length about, you know, RF noise and stuff that gets in the pickups in this room, and it's just a little bit of a noisy room. That place was dead silent, so I could go there and cut like high gain solos or really compressed things, and it would be like super quiet. So that was really nice. Yeah. What else we got here? Can you show us how you store your guitar cases? Well, if you were watching earlier, you were in my hallway with me. I've actually got most of them stored up above in a hallway. They're like on like up on a shelf, very high, and standing up. So that's where all the cases are. It's worked out quite well, actually. Not all of them, but most of them. Who's that in the super chat there? If using B Little, what's up? If using Fry Power Station to load an amp down and using Cab M to do speaker sim, okay, I get it. What is your recommended chain? Amp through Cab M, then into Cab M, or amp into Power Station, line out into Cab M? You know, I don't think it really matters. The Cab M has a speaker through on it, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then you can just pass through to the load, and it's still going to, everything's going to respond the same way. I don't think it matters. I would probably do the first thing, just into the Cab M path. But it might be more convenient to actually run the Cab M line out off of the, it just depends. Whatever works. I don't think you're going to notice a change in tone. So, you know, you tell me actually, because I haven't tried both ways, but I think you'd be fine doing either, honestly. My honest assessment there. And that's a cool little rig for sure. And if you have a Cab M, you'll be able to use my new Dyn IR package that's coming out with 2 notes soon. So, and they sound great. I've heard a bunch of them and used a bunch of them. You know, I'm checking them and stuff, and they're really cool. So you guys are gonna, if you're into that whole world, you got to check them out when they come out. Some great stuff there, from clean to dirty. So I'm really happy with them. Need recording software for amplifier plugins. Recording software for amplifier plugins. I would love to try all the amps available plugins. What's the bare bones equipment needed? Really, you can get away. Like I saw Apogee has a sale on their little Jam, which is just a 1/4 inch in A to D converter that then you plug into your computer. It's $50, I think, on sale right now. You get something like that and a laptop, headphones. There's the bare bones. That's all you need. You know, you don't need anything else. So, and I would try some of the stuff from, like, great plugins from Brainworks. They've got the PT100 now. Is going to be, it's not available just yet, but very, very, very soon it's going to be available off of the UA platform. So PT100 has only been available in plugin form for the UA platform, but it's coming out for every, you know, you'll be able to use it natively. That's another cool new thing that's coming out. So I've got to make a video for that very soon here. So that'll be cool. But also this, you know, lots of great plugins from, I love the Neural DSP stuff. The Membrini stuff is really nice. I made a video for them recently. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff across the board. Thinking of that view from Le Studio, says Jim, from those Russian April wine videos. Isn't it beautiful? And now that building is just I don't know if it's even still there anymore. Last I saw it was a bit sad. It was like empty. They should have kept that place a studio because what a vibe, you know. That lake and everything's gorgeous, you know. If nobody knows what we're talking about, check out the videos from uh, one of the songs that Rush did there. I'm blanking on it right now. So cool though, those the studio videos. If you just look up Le Studio Rush, you know, you'll find the videos we're talking about. If you haven't seen them, they're so neat. And it was yeah, I've got great memories of that stuff from, like, that seemed like magic when I was a kid. Like, wow, you get to go to a room like that and make music, and then, like, you know, that I can remember little like snippets of things like those videos, as well as like I always was really impressed by the U2 at Red Rocks video, and I always thought, wow, look at that place, like that's amazing. And it was just kind of raining, and it just looks so incredible in those videos, and it left such an impression on me. Like, that looks like what I want to do. And then, you know, 2006, I finally got to play Red Rocks. That was really cool. I was like, it was like such a thrill, you know. And I think everybody has that kind of connection with that place that's around my age, maybe because they saw those videos of bands playing there. It was just so neat, you know. Anyways, Danielle says, just received my PT100. What would be your choice playing without a cab on stage? Aux, sir, 2 notes. Rock and roll is dead on our stages. Oh man, I know it's hard. The aux is great for that. The Sir is great for that. It's much simpler than the aux, but the aux gives you more options, so it just depends what you want, you know. The Sir is a set and forget kind of, like, you've got your 16 IRs on the knob there. There's some great ones that it comes with. Most people that get it, I've had a couple, like Steve Stevens and Justin Derrico, both great guitar players, plugged it in, and their response was like, this is amazing. I plugged it in, it's got a great sound, started working, done. I'm happy, you know, like that, like kind of like that set and forget. You're going to get a great mic'd up sound with what's included in it. So it's so easy, but there's no effects or anything like that, you know. So if you want to do that stuff, then the aux is nice because it's got delays and all that stuff. 2 notes is nice too. I just haven't played with it as much. I don't have one right now. As far as like I have an old Torpedo Live, but the new Captor X and stuff like that, I don't actually have one of those right now. But I guess I should, because I'm making a signature pack for them. But anyways, these are all great options. You know, I don't think you're going to be disappointed whichever way you go. Yeah, it's my honest assessment. Oh, really? Ben has some great information that a good Canadian would have, which is the studio is being restored to some extent, along with a gift shop and museum. That's fantastic. That's great news. That makes me happy, as it should be. And it should be a working studio too. But you know, whatever. If all it was a historical place where rockers could go and live the dream, that would be fine too. Thanks, Ben, for letting me know that. That makes me feel good. Henrik says, is it a big soldering procedure to flip position 4 and 5 on your signature guitar? I don't think so. No, it's not. It's a 1-pin thing that you would move. I don't know how to do it, but that would be something I would write customer service at Xlr about, and they could tell you. So it's cs@xlr.com, and they will tell you. Not a big deal at all, I don't think. Nimish says, tell us about your experience playing with Chris Cornell. It was wonderful. I don't know how to summarize, but you know, it was over 300 shows and a lot of travel, and you know, we probably went to Europe like 4 or 5 times, and we went to, you know, Australia, and we went to you know, the northernmost, you know, regions of Norway, and all kinds of crazy places. South Africa. Got to play with a lot of great bands, and he was my pal and my buddy, and I love that guy. So he was hilarious, and he was always amazing. I just saw some fun videos the other day, actually, of us playing at the racetrack here in California, out in Ontario, the Fontana Speedway or something. You could find this guy's videos on YouTube. He put them up like 10 years ago or something when we did the show, or more than that. You know, it was 2007, so never mind 10 years ago, like 15 years, 14 years ago. But yeah, time just passes, doesn't it? But anyways, they're pretty cool, and Chris was singing amazing that day. he always sang great, but some days he's really like, his voice was just warm and he sounded so good. So you should check out those Fontana videos. They're really fun. A bunch of songs, Spoon Man and a bunch of Audio Slave and all kinds of stuff that we did that day. But anyways, it was amazing. We were a rock band. It was like, I got to be in a band with Chris Cornell. I don't know how else to describe it. And he described it that way too, because people would ask him, what was it? What's different about what you're doing now than when you were in bands? And he goes, I'm still in a band. I'm in a band every night. I get up on stage and play in a band. And that's how it was. He was really just like, we'd get up on stage and, we'd walk out on stage and we'd just rock and have fun. It wasn't like, I don't know. I was a sideman, but it was also the most sort of bandy vibe of any sideman gig I've ever had. Felt like a band, and that was just our singer, so it was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. Can you tell us about playing with Jewel? So that was the gig that I did right before Chris Cornell. She's a trip. So she's a smartass, and she's a badass and kind of a smartass, and likes to mess with people and kind of practical jokes and like stuff like that. One night I sprained my my foot while we were on tour, and she'd like, how's that, she'll make fun of you on stage, how's that leg doing tonight, and just like kind of just stuff like that. I don't know like how to describe. She's really funny. She's great. I think she's great with a band, and we had a lot of fun playing with her, but to be honest, she really shines solo or with a very, like, maybe two people or something. That was my honest assessment, because she's not really a rock and roller or anything like that, although she could sing like a monster when she wanted to, like really like aggressive, cool, bluesy, she was great at that. But she really shines as a singer songwriter storyteller with an acoustic guitar, and is very interesting like that. I saw her play a couple shows solo, and I was like, oh, I was totally interested for the whole hour and a half or whatever that I was watching her, because of the stories she would tell and how she would kind of weave them in. So the interesting thing is, like, the confines of a band, of playing with other musicians, arrangements and sticking to, an arrangement and stuff. She wouldn't really do, when she plays by herself, she would be that typical singer-songwriter thing, where like a storyteller thing, where she'd lengthen things, and she could fall out of a verse and just be like, so kind of like storytellers on VH1, where she'd talk about what she was writing the song about or something, that kind of thing. And I always find that thing interesting, because I really like Neil Young and different people, singer-songwriters. Neil's great with the band too, but you know what I mean, when you see a singer-songwriter alone with an acoustic guitar, and they can stretch sections out and play with the time, and so she was really great that way. She's tough, and didn't take shit from anybody, and that could be interesting sometimes when we were opening for other bands. she'd like, anybody told her sound checks, we got to cut it short, because whatever, like, she'd be like, yeah, it's not going to happen, I'm just kind of going to want to do exactly what I want to do, and that's how that's going to go. So she was really funny. Sassy. Yeah, she was sassy. That's right. But like, she could, I mean, and some of the stories she told me about growing up in Alaska were hilarious. Like, and you got a sense of why she was such a, she learned how to hang, like living in a van sort of thing, like, on her own without any, she was a strong person, So she had a lot of salt, I guess, is what I mean. Anyways, yeah. Did he count mistakes like Little Richard? I guess you're talking about Chris. Chris was one of those guys that just kind of welcomed. He didn't like, as long as it wasn't catastrophic failure, he didn't like that. He liked things to be like, not like arrangement messing up things or things like that. But if somebody hit a wrong chord, or if broke a string, or any of that crap that happens on stage, that never fazed him. He didn't care, and he liked to take risks and things. But he was a really good musician, and he didn't like things where there was train wrecks, or who would, right? Some people might even laugh that stuff off, but I can remember he would be like, he wanted people to be confident, because then if you're confident, then he could be confident and he could have fun and play around with things and stuff. So that was all. But mistakes didn't bother him, and no, he wouldn't be like a Little Richard finding people. You know, I think that was that Little Richard, or was that that's more like a James Brown thing, isn't it? Could have been Little Richard too. I don't know. Marshall Studio 20 any good? They seem pretty good. I have only played one once, but I played a combo version of the Plexi Jobby in this room right here, and it was pretty cool. It had a very microphonic preamp tube. I remember that, so it was hard to get the total vibe, but it basically sounded right to me and was cool. I think they'd be a great mod platform too, an upgrade platform. You know, you could probably an amp like that. You could probably send to Friedman and have him do his thing and tweak little things here and there to really dial it in. So much like he does with Dave's got some neat tricks he does to the 1987X to make it sound more like an old Plexi. So if you got an 87X or a modern 1959 or whatever, you can send them to him and he can do little things to kind of make them play with the filtering or little parts here and there that he puts in to kind of make them a little more vibey like the old ones, you know. They can be a little, like the 87X can be a little cold and aggressive, I find, compared to an old one. Not a bad sound and in the ballpark, but like just definitely in the ballpark and tweakable. They're a decent amp, you know, good amp, but they're just that they don't really sound exactly like an old Plexi, but then you can do little things and they can sound better. So, all right. Let's see here. Thanks for a great channel. Thanks, man. Have you tried any of the Marshall Studio 20? Oh, that's the same question. I think we just talked about that. Just bought the Keeley Studio compressor pedal, thinking of getting the Muffaletta during the Sweetwater sale. Sweetwater having a sale? I saw something this morning that said Sweetwater sells out. I wonder if that's about their sale. The video they just put up must be advertising their sale or something. What else we got here? Did I miss any super chats? I hope. Oh, there's one up there that is happening that I better get on. 399 people online. Let's get one more. Somebody call a friend so we can have 400. Have a beer on us later on. St. Anne's Guitar Shop. Thank you so much. What do you think are the essential diesel Soldano and Friedman amps and Wampler Keeley and diesel pedals? Well, the diesel to me, the VH4 is always the one that is the classic, you know. And isn't it kind of channel 3 on the VH4 is the one that everybody always really raves about? Look at that, 403 people on. That's the old Alberta area code, 403. That's my old phone number. If you call that number, I wonder who answers. 403-434-9159. That was my number growing up. Kind of a good number, 434-9159. Some other person will answer if you call that number right now, and you can say, this was Pete's number in Alberta, and they'll say, leave me alone. Diesel VH4, that's kind of the one, you know, that I think of as the, if I was going to get one, that would be the one I would want. Soldano, the SLO 100, right? Friedman amps. To me, you know, I mean, I'm not really super, to be honest, Dave's one of my best friends, but I'm not really super familiar with like the BE 100 or 50 Deluxe or whatever, like the modern ones I haven't played with very much. I just know I like his small box amp because it does everything. You kind of, it's got a clean channel and a nice sturdy channel that is, you know, the modded, you basically got Plexi, modded Plexi. What more do you need? 50 watts, you don't ever need to be louder than that. So, I guess if you're, you know, a metal player or something, or you really want 3 channels and versatility, my amp has 3 channels, you know. But there's something about his small box amp I really like, and I like his Dirty Shirley amp too. So take that for what he's got a lot of amps. It's hard to pick one. Wampler Keeley and diesel pedals. You know, I recognize you're all here because you think I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know everything about all this stuff. So, like, there's a lot of Wampler pedals out there, and there's a lot of Keeley pedals. So, with that in mind, just a little disclaimer. Keeley makes some really, if I was going to get a Keeley pedal right now, it would probably be the Hendrix all-in-one. You know, the one that has like a fuzz and Octavia and a vibe and everything. That's really cool. I wish somebody would, pedal companies do this. Make a Van Halen pedal like that has the Echoplex, the phaser, and the flanger all in one, you know, because that's cool. that's a really useful thing that, you know, and maybe like a little boost or something, maybe even an EQ. Oh, there's a great pedal. You could make a like MXR or a Boss 10 band with the phaser, the flanger, and the Echoplex style circuit all in one pedal. That would be so useful. But yeah, the Hendrix pedal from Keeley, that's cool. Keeley GC2, I love. I like more than the classic Keeley compressor, which is the 4-knob. The studio compressor is cool too. Lauren mentioned that he got that. But there's something about that GC2. It's basically a miniaturized DBX 160 from what I understand. It's just an amazing little compressor pedal. So I like that one. The Keeley Katana is a great pedal. It's this boost that's got this great kind of sizzle on the top end, or a harmonic thing where it just, I don't know what it is. It just has a really cool sound to it. So there's a few Keeley pedals, but he makes so many pedals that it's like I'm sure there's some that I would try and I would just love that I've never tried. That's a few. His pedal that he did for Dan and Mick was cool. The drive with the 2 different sides in it. That was really neat. Bradley, I missed a super chat from you. I'm sorry, my friend. What was the super chat? Let me see if I go back and find it here. And I've missed it. God, I've missed a few. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try and look back for these real quick. Ryan, sorry about that. As a sideman playing with artists whose music is great but isn't the most difficult to play, what motivates you? Well, I don't really care about difficult. I care about having fun. And sometimes not having a difficult part to play is really fun because I can look forward to just performing and connecting with an audience. And I mean, I love, you know, if I could get up and play Wildflower by the Cult, I'm happy doing that, you know, just a great riff. And, you know, AC/DC, like, I love playing that stuff live. I don't like having to play at my limit all the time. I'm a rock player. I like, you know, I'm not like somebody that's always looking to constantly stretch and be like challenged all the, no, man, I want to have a good time, you know. I'd like to have, like, you know, a glass of wine up there and play that. I mean, you know, Rolling Stones, right? You know, have some fun and, like, you know, rock and roll. Because to me, technical complexity or whatever isn't the pinnacle. It's like a vibe. I like a vibe in music. I like a great riff, something where the crowd, they're like, you know, I like just a groove, and I like a thing, like a vibe, you know. And so that could be, I mean, like you're saying, playing with an artist whose music is great but isn't the most difficult to play. What motivates me? What motivates me is just getting in a groove and trying to have a great time. You know, trying to nail the tones. Yeah, I enjoy that. Get the parts 100% accurate. I enjoy that too. You know, but more than anything, it's that feel of a group playing together to make. It's the sum of the parts. So it's like, it's not about my part really, or about it's more like when the band is firing on all 4 cylinders and you've got that connection. That's the magic to me. That feels like, you know, being super present, and I just really enjoy that. So that's it for me. I'm sorry about the fellow from Canada if I missed your super chat. Oh wait, or was that? No, I missed it. Well, anyways, I think your name was where are you there, my friend? Bradley. I'm sorry if I missed your chat, but just ask again down at the bottom right now, and I'll answer your query. Yeah, Keeley Monterey, says Robert. Yeah, that's the Keeley all-in-one. Keeley makes some neat pedals where he does the kind of like all-in-one thing that are pretty cool. I think that's a neat, you know, he said it sort of was, he felt like it had all been done with pedals, but combining effects was something where there was new ground to break, and I would agree with that. You know, I think that it's cool to combine things, and that's why I say nobody's made an all-in-one Van Halen box. That'd be neat. Yeah. Okay. GC2, says Buzz. That's right. That's the one. Really great. Feel Button says he has the Monterey and it's great. Yeah, it sure does look like a lot of fun to me, you know, and having all those in one. There's something about, you know, just plug into your Marshall and hook up that one pedal and play a Strat, and you can nail all the tones. It's cool, you know, or get close, you know. Is a Headrush 108 too loud to practice at home? You can turn it down to TV volume, so it's got a ton of power, but, you know, it's very controllable, so I wouldn't say so, no. What's your favorite way to mic a cabinet? Do I have to spend a lot of money? No. You can use an interface, a nice recording interface from UA or something, or Apogee. use the internal pre. They sound really good these days, you know. And yeah, good old 57 is a nice microphone. I really like my Audio Technica 4050, but it's a bit more money. It sounds great on cabinets though. What's other? Oh, part of the pack that I just did with two notes, we used a good old 441 from Sennheiser, which isn't a mic that normally people talk about for guitar a lot, but I love them, and it was great. So it's in my package. That'll be coming out. Ooh, I was supposed to talk about specifics, but screw it, I just did. So there you go. But yeah, 441, which I think is maybe a first for them. I don't know if they have another pack with a 441. Man, when you try it, you'll see it's like a 57 without as much sizzle or hashy top end, you know, which sometimes you want that, but other times you just want to slightly like, man, I just wish I could use one mic and get a nice, cool tone, smooth sound, like nice representation of my guitar sound. It's a great option for that. So that's a mic that you could look at in the real world. Really, really cool mic. All right. All right. What else we got here? There's a super chat. Somebody that's over in Europe. Best way to isolate a cabinet in a closet, to surround it with soft stuff. That's what I find. You can use packing blankets, or like, you know, it doesn't have to be like stuff from the, you know, you can do it on the cheap. Get it off the floor, maybe. It's a good thing. You know, isolate it off the floor with something, mic it up, and then surround it with some soft stuff, and it can work great. Mark says, how did it come to the collaboration with Tony Cornell performing Pearl Jam's Black? YouTube suggested the video to me. I like it a lot. She's got a great voice. She does, and you know, that was even a year and a half ago. She's just gets better, and you know, as she gets older and stuff. She was 15 when we did that, I think. So 16, 15, 16. For those that haven't seen that, we did a little remote collaboration where we recorded a version of Black by Pearl Jam, and she sang it great. It just, I'm still in contact with the family, so I talk to, you know, Chris's widow Vicky, as well as you know, Tony every now and then and stuff like that. And you know, I'll always be connected to, you know, we had a really great time together. In that, I feel like I saw the kids grow up a little bit. Like when I first met Chris and Vicky and the kids, they were like 3 and 4 years old, the kids, you know. And then like I kind of was in the band, and they would always be out on tour and stuff from then until they were like 7 or 8. So I was around them during kind of a big period of, you know, so I've known those, you know how it is when you're around kids and stuff, and you just grow up with them a little bit. And then of course I'd always stay in touch with Chris afterwards and go over to his house sometimes and stuff, and you know, see the kids and say, wow, look how big you've gotten, that whole thing, you know, you're like a grown up. And now like little Chris isn't little anymore, you know, he's probably taller than I am at this point. It's crazy, like, you see these kids grow up. So anyways, I'm still in touch with them and stuff like that, and I always will be, you know. I had I actually went to their place, and because Tony was starting to get into doing music, and you know, she wanted like a little studio and stuff like that. So I stopped by in New York at one point, just pre-pandemic and stuff like that, and helped her hook up a little home studio and stuff to get it all going. And that was, you know, it was really cool. That was the first time when I was really around all of them again, you know. And it's just a really strange thing not having Chris there, but you know, like, and you know, for them every day, that's their life, they live it. But to be around them, and it felt really good to see them again and connect with them again and stuff. So I don't know. It's like I am. He's not here anymore, and it's like whatever little thing I can do to like be, you know, like help them as they grow up and stuff, because they've got as a, you know, I really, I just love them, you know, I love the family. So it's like, that's that. So anyways, mind blowing how time flies, says T-Mitz. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's just, time just soldiers on like faster and faster, doesn't it? Chris's daughter will have a huge career as a singer. You know, I if she wants to do that, I think that'd be great. And if she doesn't, that's okay too, you know. And it's like whatever she feels comfortable with, you know, because there's a lot of pressure there and stuff. And my main thing with, you know, like especially with anybody, I consider anybody under the age of like 21 is, you know, like she's she's a kid, and it's like she's a great kid, and she's got a lot. She's very mature and really smart, and so, and all that. But it's like, like just be a kid and be, because there's so much pressure these days with like social media and the internet, and especially being the daughter or son of somebody that was famous, and the expectations. All I just try and like, don't worry about all that. Like, just be your, be you know what I'm saying. Anyways, do you think you'll ever do something with Ian Thornley again? I would love to. The Surf Factory event videos are amazing. Thanks. Yeah, I had such a good time working with Ian on that show, and that was when we first met. So it's a long time ago now, 8 years ago. I'd love to anytime. Love to do something with Ian. I'd love to play with him again. It was a really fun. So I probably we really like one another. We're pals, so it's like it's like I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But I'm also in awe of him. So I'm always like, but that's my favorite kind of people to work with. Is like it's challenging, and you're like that. I just always want to be the worst guy in the band. I always recommend that to people. Like, find yourself a band where you're the worst guy, and then or girl, and then you just always feel like you're like, well, I'm so lucky to be doing this. Like, wow, like hope nobody finds me out. Like I'm, that feeling is, where you're like, why do they want to work with me? But I'm here. I'll do my best, and that's when you really improve, and you're really happy to be there, and you feel pressure, but a good pressure. I feel like to deliver and all that stuff. You don't want to be always the one in the band that's always the mentor, or right. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you be, always like feeling like, oh my God, the drummer, I wish it wasn't, she kept better time, or wish the bass player wasn't such a knucklehead, or whatever. You don't want that. You always want to feel like you're stoked to be playing in the group you're in. Thanks for the super chat there, Elio 1862. Thank you. Hello from the UK. Come see us at classic rock show. the classic rock show. The classic rock show. Loving the Van Halen posts on Instagram. Thank you. They're always fun. I've been working on a lot of Van Halen lately, and it's like when I get one where I feel like it's good, I'll just like put the camera up and then take a little video because it's fun. So thanks. I'm glad you. It's I just love the Eddie spirit. I like to get into that mode. Just hearing about you spending time with Chris's family makes me tear up. As a child of the 80s and 90s, Chris had such an impact on my life. Yeah, man. I mean, I was a child of the 80s and 90s too, and a big fan back in the day. So to then get to, work with him was a dream come true. And I always say it's probably my favorite gig, and it was amazing to get to play those songs. And it's never lost on me. I always feel like really fortunate to have had that. So, and just to be, make a good friend, and because he was a funny guy. I mean, just as a person, like forget about music. If he'd never played music and all that, he was hilarious and fun to be around. Really bright, and so, just a lot of great conversations. And so, how many gigs did you do in your busiest year, and what year was it? Well, that year was really busy. That first year I played with Chris, because we joined around March is when we got the gig, I think. February, March, and then we went straight into rehearsal, and then I was gone until December. So I don't know how many gigs it was, but it was a lot of gigs. It was like 2 or 3 trips to Europe in 1 year, US tours, Australia, all that happened in that first year, Canada. So that is a memory of being like, I felt like I was gone for the back half of the year after I got the gig. That's it. We went out and started touring. And it was a blast. I was only home like for a week at a time here and there through the rest of the year. So that would probably be my busiest. Now, when I think about like when I got the Milan Farmer gig and went to France, that was, also that was 5 months I was in France. So I left and didn't come back to the States for 5 months. Wasn't the most work, I wouldn't say, because there was only, I think it was like 30 something shows. But 3 weeks of solid rehearsal and then into the gigs. It was a great big production, so they just couldn't do that many shows a week. Moving the show took a long time to take it from one city to another and set it up again and all that. but I was away the whole time. What other gigs? Let me think. You know, when I think about like, there's just certain periods of time, like 2015, I worked mostly in Japan that year. We did a spring tour, well, late winter, spring, February. We went over to Japan, and then between February and June, I went back and forth to Japan 4 times. And I was there for big chunks of time each time, so it was like not a lot of time back in the U.S. when I would come back. That at one point around May or June, I started feeling like I don't know what end is up anymore because of the jet lag and stuff and the adjustment. So that was pretty wild. And then when I got back in June, I was there from June till August. We rehearsed 52 days for the one show, the big Fuji show that happened in August, on the like August 21st or whatever it was, 22nd, 23rd. So June through August, 52 days of rehearsal for that one gig. That was crazy. You know, it was like, and those were like, you know, good. We'd work at least 5 days, probably 6 days a week rehearsing. And you know, I think we 60, 70 songs, something like that we were picking from, and segues and all this stuff. And so that was an intense time. The whole front half of that year through about September 2015. I love it though. It was great. Certainly not complaining. I would go and do it again in a heartbeat. Yep. That's Speedster. Thanks for your super chat. I appreciate that. I do. Okay. What else do we have here? Let's see. What are you guys talking about? You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Horst says, hello from Germany. What's up? Great. You keep Eddie's spirits up, doing the same here. Make noise and crank it up. Yeah, Eddie loved to rock. Eddie loved the rock. Ever notice a correlation between drummers and hockey goalies? That's cool. That's very Canadian of you. Are you Canadian? I could totally see that. Yeah, totally. And then like bass player and defense, maybe. Wayne Gretzky's the lead guitar player, or maybe the lead singer. Right? I could see that. That's funny. Comparisons between hockey and bands. I like it. There's a lot of comedy in hockey. Maybe it's a slap shot or whatever, but I don't know what it is. There's something that's just cracks me up about hockey. What else we got here? Let's see. More Van Halen videos. Face the camera more so we can follow your fingers. I'm going to turn around just because you said that, just like Eddie used to. My back to the audience. I find it relatively easy to be the worst player in the band, says James. Me too. Yeah, it's not hard for me either to feel that way. You know who sounds a lot like Chris Cornell? Richie Kotzen. Yeah, Richie can kind of do it. He sounds like himself to me. He sounds different, but you know, I've got a friend that can do Chris's voice really, really well. It's interesting. It's like he's a studio singer and a writer and composer for television and for ads and stuff like that. He does lots of work like that. But he's a great singer. And he one day he'd done a song. It kind of like he was trying to do it like a Chris Cornell style song, and he was a big fan of Chris. And he's like, yeah, I just kind of like I wrote this track for this. I don't remember what it was for. It's for something for TV, and he wanted me to play guitar on it. So he came over to my studio, and I put it on, and I was like, I turned around and looked at him like I remember because he sounded exactly like Chris on the vocal that he'd put down, And he was like, oh yeah, I can kind of do that or whatever. And I was fascinated by it, like how I was like, wow, it's amazing. Nathan says, can you tell us a bit about your gig with Don Henley? Yeah, I mean, Don, the first time it came around, I was in my late 20s, and it was 2000. And I got a call to go audition for it, and I was really nervous, but I said I would do it, and I was excited to go do it, and it was like I didn't know if I was going to get laughed out of the room or just like whatever, if I was going to get humiliated or what. And so I over prepared as I always generally do, but really for that one I worked hard. Like was a lot of songs, and I knew that he liked things note for note. And so I think it was 8 or 9 songs for the audition initially. Um, so I just worked for about a month, and I played in my living room at my place. I remember I was living over by CBS TV in the Grove and stuff in LA, kind of on the Fairfax district there, over by Canners and stuff. And I had the apartment, one of those old apartments that like they have in that neighborhood, and I just had all my rigs set up in the living room for like 3 weeks, and I would just turn down low, but I would go over the songs just constantly and playing the stuff, standing up and trying to do what I recommend to you guys that you know that you do and stuff like that to get ready for such things. And I always remember the audition was like, I knew the day before that I went in and played that the guys that were in there rehearsing or auditioning the day before were Brett Tuggle and Greg Bissonette and Matt Bissonette. And I'd seen Greg play with Dave Lee Roth when I was a kid, and then Matt I knew also worked with his brother and stuff, and I knew he was a great bass player. I felt like, what am I don't even remember who went in on guitar, but I was like, I don't like that whole thing about being able to hang. Like, I was like, I had anxiety about like, what am I doing? Like getting involved. I used to see these guys. They were like, I saw them on the Dave Lee Roth tour, like in 1986. Here it is, 14 years later. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I was going to do it. So I committed to doing it. And I was like working really hard on it, and it went really well. I got a call back right after the audition. I mean, I remember going in and playing with him. The first song we did was Dirty Laundry, and I played both solos, the Steve Lukather solo and the Joe Walsh solo. I just took, they said, just do everything, do all the hard guitar parts. He's going to want to see you do that. And I'll remember the, 2,000-watt Clare Brothers wedges, and that pumping out of the wedges and just feeling like, here we go, and then kicking into the tune, and just going for it, like just whatever I had, the best of my, and it went really good. And so then I left that day and I felt good about it, but I didn't know what was going to happen. The vibe, it was amazing to hear him singing through the wedges. It just really felt like I'd arrived, like this is what I came here to do. That's his voice coming out of the wedges, and there he is, the real guy, and I'm standing here playing with that guy. That whole thing. And then on the way home, I got a call, and it was his right hand man, a fellow named Tony, and he called and said, who I got to know much later on, but he said, Don wants you guys to come back, so 1 week from today. And I was like, okay, and I was like, got a call back. That right there was like winning to me, Went back a week later, did the call back. That went pretty well, but then I didn't hear anything for a while after that. And honestly, this is a tip here that I'll give you. I wrote him a letter after that and sent it, handwritten. Well, I think I typed it and signed it, but I sent it to his management company. I just said, I wanted to thank you for the chance to audition for you. It meant a lot to me, and really appreciate it. And I just want you to know, I can remember in the letter I said, I want you to know, if you did decide to hire me, I'm going to give you 300%. I'm going to work my butt off for you. So something like that. And I signed it and sent it off to him. And the next 2 days later or something, I guess, because I sent it, it didn't take long to mail. I got a call from the MD, and he said, Don wants you to come back and play again, like on Thursday. And he said, did you send him a letter or something? He said, and I said, yeah, I did actually. And he said, well, that really impressed him, I guess. And he wants you to come down and play. So I got a second call back. So 3 times I went down to play with him. So good old letters sometimes. It's old school, but it works. If people want to know that people want to do the job, right? So anyways, I went down and played again, and I could tell he came outside in the parking lot and spoke with me for a while afterwards. He was really trying to get a sense of, like, he knew I was green, but he liked what I did, and he was just, I could tell he wanted to hire me, and it was really close, but he was on the fence. And then he decided the next, like after I did that third callback, Peter Stroud came in and played. He got a line on him, and I guess he was available. He played with Sheryl Crow and everybody, right? Still does. Brilliant guitar player. And he decided to go with Peter. Peter was at that point, and Peter was about 10 years older than me. And he was just Peter's a great guitar player. So he sent me this great letter back. I got a letter to my house, and it was from Don, and it said, I want you to know I've chosen Peter Stroud to be the guitar player, but you were my runner-up, and I'd love to work with you. Maybe we'll get a chance in the future to do something, and you did a great job, and that meant a lot to me. And it was a letdown, but I was like, wow, like, I can hang in this, and he was almost there and did. So anyways, 9 years went by, and then I got the call to go down and audition again, and I went down, and that time I got the gig. So it's a kind of long story leading up to it, but hopefully it was interesting. That's how it happened. That's how I initially made the connection. And then you never know, you might get to go back and lock it down the next time. I was a little older. I'd done a lot of touring. Then I got the gig after that with Chris, Jewel, and it was pre-Melissa Etheridge that I did the Don Henley gig, and I did them both kind of concurrently at the same time, because I got Melissa's gig a few months after Don, and I managed to make that work and do both for a while. But anyways, that's that story. A couple super chats here. Slaphand says, thanks for a great show. Sorry about the rough start, but thank you. I got to get the internet sorted out this week. Either that or I'm just going to keep doing it like this on my phone. Who cares? It works fine. No, I'm going to get better internet. Is there anything special you need to consider when setting up an ISO cab in another room? Cabling, etc. Well, on an ISO cab, you're going to want to run a long cable. So you're just going to want to make sure that it's a good heavy gauge, like 13 gauge speaker cable, something like that. If you're running along, 50 feet or 75 feet or something of cable length all the way to another room. That's the only thing I would say. ATS Acoustics is a nice resource. ATSacoustics.com for sound absorption panels. What's the company that makes somebody out there who makes the amp pack that you surround it's the same company that makes the panels that Joe Bonamassa uses to put in front of his amp. They make a nice thing that you can surround an amp with, and these Sorber baffles. I just can't think of the name of it right now. Clear Sonic. That's it. Clear Sonic. So you can get some things like that to surround the cabinet and kind of deaden the sound. Packing blankets work great too. But yeah, those Sorber baffles from Clear Sonic with the Clear Sonic shield that you can put around and then close up the top a little bit. That stuff all goes a long way towards, really helping to isolate and cut down on the volume and all that. There's another super chat I got to grab here. Where's this fella? It's James. What's up, James? How you doing? We've got 439 people online. Thank you guys for joining today. Appreciate it. Doing it on my phone today because we had some technical issues with the goddamn internet around here. So bear with me as I keep coming back and forth here to the phone. Thanks for the show. Looking forward to UK gigs. Do you do any of this wet, dry, or stereo rig stuff? A little bit, yeah. I wonder about it for a bit and then just plug a telly into my Princeton. I can't be bothered. That's okay, man. Am I missing out? If you really enjoyed the telly into the Princeton, I wouldn't question it. Yeah, I don't know if you're missing out, really. I mean, you get another Princeton. Get another Princeton and hook it up and see if you just run only effects into the other amp, and see what it does for you. I don't really. I'll tell you what. The wet dry thing, in my mind, there's a few different ways to do it and the different schools of thought. If you're the only guitar player in a band and you're like Eddie Van Halen or Steve Stevens or whatever, that style of rig works great. I'm actually doing it in here right now for something. So I've got 3 cabinets set up here, center dry, and then the outside 2, and I'm just using 112s in here right now. But the deal is basically with that style of rig, you got your center dry, and then the outside cabs have dry and some effects mixed in, maybe a little bit of reverb, a little bit of ping pong delay or something like that, and about an equal amount of dry. So that's cool, and it gives you this great big huge sound. If you're in a band though where you're not Eddie Van Halen or Steve Stevens, I don't know that it matters. Why do you want that? What do you even do with stereo? Like if you're in a band where there's a keyboard player, a second guitar player, the front of house person is going to want to maybe pan the guitars out 10 and 2 in the PA, and your stereo. So now they got to, what do they do with your, it's just kind of like you're almost better off with a mono sound, just like in a recording. In a recording, imagine it where you've got like, a couple guitar players, bass, drums, if one person's stereo, it's washing over into the other channel where the other person is, and gets a little confusing. So it depends on your band, right? Now, the other way to do it, the Mike Landau, Scott Henderson way of having your dry amp and then a second amp. It's not stereo, it's just another amp for the effects, and they plug right into the front end of the amp with the effects, and it's like a Fender combo or something. That is a different thing. That's more about keeping the speakers that your main amp is plugged into free of any effects, delay, anything, so that interaction with the guitar is there. There's no digital, analog to digital conversion or anything like that. There's no effects, which can kind of maybe change the way the guitar feeds back and reacts to the speaker. So that's a different approach that seems to work well for those very lyrical, kind of like expressive guitar players that want that direct connection with the speakers. That, the amp is really part of the feedback loop, guitar amp thing, guitar and amp thing is they that direct connection. They want that, and then the effects in a different thing. It's a little different mentality to me than the big stereo spread Eddie Van Halen thing, which was like 3 cabs, and it's all about having this massive sound when you hit a big dirty chord. It's a different approach. So it sounds to me like a Telly into a Princeton kind of player is not like, I don't know if you really want like, that's not really, it's like some pedals into the front end of a Princeton. It's a different approach, and both are totally valid, and you don't have to feel like you're missing out, really, I don't think. But it's fun to mess with if you can rig it up someday and then see if you like it. Always more difficult to figure out what to do with in a PA. That's all. Like you're not miking up one amp, you're miking up 2 or 3, and how much wet do you mix into the other ones? Does the sound person get that maybe they don't want the wet cabs as loud as it's more to explain, and so yeah. Bill coming in large there with the super chat. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate that. Wow, I appreciate it. Have a drink on me? I will. Have a drink on me. Sorry, that was awful. Todd says, thank you again, the super chats. All of you. I really appreciate it because you're too kind. After playing wet, dry, or stereo with 2 amps, it's hard just playing with 1 amp. Sounds like something's missing. Yeah, I mean, I did classic rock show tour last time with just 1, and I was okay with that. I kind of like, I was fine with it. I generally, if I have my druthers, if I get my way, I do like, having said what I just said, having the option of stereo. And the last few tours I did, I would have like 2 amps, 2 cabs, kind of like the Lukather style, where I'm running effects in the loop, and it's basically a stereo rig. It's not a wet dry rig. I think that's kind of what Vi does too. I think, but yeah, where you got some pedals in front or whatever, and then you got your effects in the loop, and then you split to 2 amps and 2 cabs, and that I like. It contradicts what I was saying a little bit, because yes, it's stereo, but it can be mono if you want it to. You just use a mono delay or mono effects, and then you basically got 2 cabinets, 2 heads, but it's just mono sound. But it's nice for, we've got to take into account kind of what you're saying, Todd. How fun is it to play on stage? And that's the part, especially in in-ears, where stereo can be fun. Because even though in the front of house, they might just have you panned and kind of almost mono sounding, even though you're rigged stereo, like stereo reverb, a little bit of ping pong echo or whatever, they might just pan you out a little bit, your stereo thing, like 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and then the other guitar players mixed over to the other side or something. But in your in-ears, you can have big wide stereo, at the same time, or at least, that ping pong delay. And that's really fun in in-ears. It's as fun as in-ears can be. I hate those things. But, if you got to use them, you got to use them. Sometimes you do. So that it's like you want to have fun on stage. So to me, I'm a long-winded way of saying the stereo thing can almost be as much for me as it is for, I'm not really that concerned as much with it being stereo in the PA as I am with trying to have a good time. And that mono sound is always something I have if it's a big band and you've got another guitar player, then it can kind of work, actually. But it's always weird to me when you take a solo and you're on in-ears. And if you got yourself panned a bit, because I do that sometimes, where I'll pan myself left. I like being left in my in-ears, and then having the other guitar, if there's another guitar player, off to the right. But it's always weird. You take a solo and then it's loud in your left ear. Oh, I hate that, you know? So it's like I'd rather have the stereo thing where I'm up the middle and then have some delay, and that's just more fun in the ears. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, trying to have a good time up there and not, you know, get bummed out about the sound in the in-ears. I got distracted just getting back, wondering what was the last gig you did that felt like old school 80s style live craziness. I don't know if I ever had 80s style live. Maybe obviously the backstage culture has changed a lot. Well, remember how I said earlier that we were a band with Chris Cornell? We kind of like that band. I mean, Chris, having said everything I said about him, it's like he wasn't around that much in the backstage. He kind of kept to himself, and he was a family man at that point, you know, and he would like hang with his family. So once he got off stage, we might see him for a minute, but then he'd take off and be gone. But we hung a lot as a band. He generally liked to fly. He didn't really like buses. So he only rode on the bus very rarely, you know, but our band lived on that bus, and various buses, you know. And yeah, we had a good time. we tended to have a pretty good time, you know. And we went through phases, but it was like I always say, you know, we kind of partied like a band, we fought like a band, we hung like a band, and we had fun together, you know. And it was like that was, you know, there was definitely we had a good time on the road, you know. It was like we like to go out and, you know, cause trouble, and, you know, take that for what you will. Probably that tour was the last time I remember, like, really that the tours over the years. Party Bus, says John. Yeah, we had some pretty, like, you know, I can remember having some fun. I remember you know what's funny about Party Bus? I remember, like, because the crew liked to party too, various times, you know, depending on the crew we had, but they like to have a good time. And I can always remember, like, the crew sometimes being like really wild and like partying. Sometimes you'd be like trying to sleep. You're like, God, these guys, you know, but I love them. But, you know, it was like when you're in the close quarters, it can be, you know, stressful sometimes or whatever. So I remember one night going to Edmonton, my hometown, and I remember playing this place called Reds. Anybody from Edmonton might remember that place. I don't know if it's still there or not, probably not. But it was a club at the big West Edmonton Mall, you know, which is like this massive complex of entertainment and shopping and everything else under the sun. But there was a big rock club in there, and one of the Cornell gigs we did was in there. And I remember, like, my whole, like, it was like a high school reunion. I never got to go to a high school reunion because I moved to LA right after high school, and I never went back that much. But anyways, I remember, like, all these guys coming out from high school and hanging, and then, like, we all ended up on the bus after, like, and kind of like, and it was so funny because here we are now. I'm in my 30s, and you know, all these guys. It was like the high school. It was exactly like a high school reunion. The same guys that would have gotten super wasted back in high school had to be carried off the bus, you know, like by the friends. It was like the same. I thought, God, nothing's changed. Here we are. It's like 15 years later or something, and it's just, everybody's just knuckleheads still. No, but people don't really change that much, you know. But it was fun. I mean, it was great to see all these guys and stuff, and it was hilarious. And I remember the crew being pissed because it was like, they were like, shut up there, you know, we're trying to sleep, because we went until all hours, you know, on the bus, and just, you know, drinking, having fun or whatever, being silly. And I just remember, like, the crew being pissed and being like, yeah, I got to deal with you guys all the time. This is my night. I'm having fun tonight with my friends, you know, whatever. So it was funny. But anyways, we did so much travel. I mean, I can remember having just some crazy, you know, like, you know, being in, you know, Australia and Norway, you know, like some really nutty times. Sweden, like, you know, just all over the. I remember like playing shows with like Korn and who else did we play? I just remember this one festival in Kristiansand in Sweden, and that was like really fun. South part of Sweden. It was summertime. It was beautiful and like just crazy. I'm not gonna go into details, but anyways, it was fun. Good times. Do you know of any hand surgeons that treat musicians? I don't. I have an issue. My hand can't play anymore. I'm sorry to hear that. The place where I've had the most luck is just sports medicine kind of clinics, to be honest. Those people know everything about, like what can be done, what can't be done. They're super up on it because obviously athletes have problems all the time and rehabilitation and stuff like that. So they'll know. But I would look for a referral to a sports medicine clinic, and try and find, that's where you would want to start. I would think, see if you can do some internet searching and stuff like that and find a place that you can go and get some help. You haven't lived life until you've been carried by bandmates. Yeah, I was in a band for a while in the early, like 99, 2000, called Blinker the Star. That was really fun. Up in your neck of the woods, Ben, Jordan from Blinker. That tour was pretty crazy. We had a drummer who he was like the most Keith Moon-like drummer I've ever been in a band with. And he's a great drummer, and his name's Kelly Scott. And he played drums in Failure as well, so he's still in Failure and does that. And he's, I don't want to, like, I'm not talking shit. He was just wild. He could be a wild guy, and now he's sober and everything. He's a different, he's like much more like Family Guy now and stuff like that. But he was pretty crazy. I remember being in a band with that dude. It was nuts, like full on, like destroying hotel rooms, kind of nuts. Like Keith Moon, he used to play, and I remember he'd smoke cigarettes on stage, and he'd be like smoking, and he'd be like sticks, and like he'd hit his cigarette all the time. The ashes would be flying, and it was like, he was just kind of, he was wild. It was like, oh, this guy's really rock and roll, and a great drummer. Oh, sorry, Christensen is Norway. Yeah, I said Sweden. I didn't. Oh God, that's a no-no, right? Yeah, both the Swedes and the folks from Norway will be pissed off at me for that one. Sorry. Yes, of course it was Norway. Yeah. Sorry. Apologies. Sorry, Canadian. So Canadian of me. Great festival there though that you guys have over there if you're in Norway. Accept my apologies, please. It's just consider the age, getting older. Have you ever ate a hamburger or food while doing a gig? Probably. Yeah, it's probably something that I would do. Definitely remember like rehearsals, like, in between chords, picking up something and taking a bite. And if you're really hungry, you got to do what you got to do. It's kind of rude to do on stage, but I've probably done it. You can surf at West Edmonton Mall, for God's sake. That's true. Yeah, there's a full-on wave pool there. You can do that. That water park. I remember when they built that mall. I was a kid, and it was like the greatest thing. It was like there's a water park, there's a pirate ship in the mall, and there's a submarines. It's crazy, And we hung out there a lot because it's too damn cold to do anything else. We had a good time with the Cheeky Smile. Yes, exactly. Yeah, we did. We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Stressful at times too, actually, to be honest. Yeah. Jimmy says I'm sincere. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, dude. Thank you. Yogi and Pete are a great duo. We had a lot of fun. I love Yogi. He's great, man. And he puts up some great videos now too on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. He's a little more low key about it and less, he's like just, kind of well, he's in his Yogi way, but he spends a lot of time over in Croatia now, so he's always over there having fun. You see him like, in his element, and putting up cool videos and blues jams and things with friends, and recording new songs and things over there with musicians over there in Croatia. It's cool. I just don't get to see him much anymore. He's a great guitar player though, and at the core, Yogi was really a jazz blues kind of guy. Like he had a lot of rock and roll in him too, but that's his, he's a jazz player really. He's got that kind of vocabulary more than, I don't have that vocabulary. So he was a different kind of player. Yeah. What else? I like Pete's playing better than Stroud. Peter Stroud though is a man. He gets some amazing tones, and he's a great guitarist. We became friends. We actually did a Don Henley gig together, Don Henley show together. Like when Stuart Smith couldn't make one show because of a previous commitment, and this thing came up, and so they got Peter to come in and do the show. So I got to play one show with him, but I was very ill. I remember that I got food poisoning. And so it was really a fly by the seat of our pants thing because I couldn't rehearse. They rehearsed with Peter without me because I was literally, it's the sickest I've been in the past 20 years was the day of the rehearsal. I mean, like really sick, like food poisoning sick. So, oh, well, I won't mention more than that, but you can imagine. Toxic. Stay away. And so I managed to be okay enough to get to the gig and do a quick, sound check rehearsal with him and went over things. But oh man, that is a memory. That gig was wow. But I got to play with him once and do that show. It was just kind of like it was nutty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any experience with the Pierce G1? I know what you're talking about, but no, I never played one. I was talking on the gear page the other day about the old, what was the amp, the GK 250ML. Anybody ever have one of those? I've got a good memory of that thing, and I always wonder why they didn't reissue it because it's kind of cool. But what if you reissued it? I was saying on the gear page, you put up a post. I said, what if they reissued it like Boss Waza style, like kind of um, with a switch that made it more like a tube kind of voicing, something that was, because it had a certain sound that was it was that 80s thing. But what a great sound it actually was. I think I like that sound. I've got great memories of it. I mean, it's not it's like sacrilegious to a lot of folks that maybe were Rush fans or something and just into the high watts and the Marshalls and stuff. But Power Windows was out when I was a little kid, and that was like the current, Grace Under Pressure, Signals, Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows were the records that I first heard. It's funny because I remember talking to Chris Cornell about Rush, and he was like, yeah, he was a big Rush fan, and he was like, yeah, pretty much like Moving Pictures was my yes, this is my jam or whatever. He was really into it, and then like Signals came out, and he was just like, oh, it was a letdown for him, not for me. Signals was like, it's when you hear the stuff when you're in that magic, like you're 13, 14 years old or whatever, and that's the record that comes out and you connect with it. So I did, and then Grace Under Pressure and then Power Windows. And I knew it was processed and there was a lot of keyboards and all that, but there's still some great, what's that song somebody posted on to the gear page in the thread about the 250ML, the Middletown Dreams, I think. That's really cool guitar. I mean, it's so 80s, but it's like quintessentially 80s and that crystalline kind of like, I love those tones, that chorusy thing, It's I appreciate all this. I mean, it's no different than my feelings about Steve Stevens and the Flesh for Fantasy sounds. I love that stuff. I mean, it's an era to me. It's a vibe. It's like a whole thing. That's like, I don't know why it always had to be. I mean, what about the direct tones of Gilmore? DI into the board. I like that stuff. Like I like the if you watched my video of the Boss guitar this week, like I enjoy doing stuff like that. The guitar with the synth sounds built in. I really enjoy that stuff. Um, it's a lot of fun, synth bass and doing those fat kind of square wave lead sounding, fuzz direct is to me. I really like it. So it's all just different colors, and you play a different way, and it's fun, So Christopher says Signals was a letdown for me, although I remained a Rush fan. Like Digital Man to me is some of the coolest. That his he was obviously influenced by Andy Summers and like had some of that, the Police and stuff going on in the sounds, and they were getting into the. Somebody was mentioning Ultravox, that he appreciated the guitar players' tones and how it fit into the mix with all the modern, keyboards and different sounds and stuff. And so he was going for a bit more of that. I like that they were expanding and trying to do different things, that they didn't just stay the same band that they were in the 70s. I mean, that's just part of the arc of the band to me. And that's cool, yeah, 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 yeah. Signals was a big dip. See, I don't feel that way about it. That it was a big dip. I feel like it's I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I don't have that feeling about it, that it's like a lesser than album. Subdivisions, I love that song. I love the mood. Analog Kid is got a great riff, and all the Digital Man, Signals has Losing It on it, which is one of my favorite Rush songs of all time. Lyrically, and the violin solo is like, I don't know, it's a vibe, man. And I put that up against anything they ever did, but that's just me. I don't know. Rush geeks. Which pickups do you recommend for the VH2 tone? I would say the 9K PAFE thing. Yeah, that's the main thing I would say, is get that thing happening, you know, or the bare knuckle VH2 is a really great representation of that sound, I think, too. Signals is, or sorry, not Signals, Van Halen 2. Get out of the Rush thing into the Van Halen thing. Van Halen 2 is raw. It's the greatest guitar sound, I think. I mean, overall, I've grown to appreciate it as being maybe the best sounding record. Van Halen 1 is brilliant and all that, of course, but it's slightly more distorted and a bit colder sounding, but awesome, wonderful, you know. But Van Halen 2, that tone is just, that is to die for, man. DOA and you know, Somebody Give Me a Doctor and Out of Love Again, Bottoms Up. I mean, that girthy, just straight up play. I mean, that to me is just magic. It's magic. It sounds amazing, you know. So, and it's not real distorted. It's just volume and pushing the amp hard and nice. It's got a warmth to it. It's just greenbacks on that record, I think, you know. It just has that sound, or blackbacks, whatever, you know. And it's just so great. Peak Van Halen, you know, the solos, God, he was playing like just the peak of his powers, you know, to me. I mean, he was great for different eras, all of it, but you know, there's something about that record and the way it sounds. It's just awesome. Christopher says, I love New World Man. That was the first song I heard. I was really pumped hearing that. And then I heard Subdivisions, and that was a letdown. Well, it's a dark tune, you know, but I've just, that's a memory of like me just learning about music and getting into bands like Rush and stuff and being like, I don't know. I love them. Actually, in the video and everything, maybe I connected with it because I was like a nerd, and you know, it's like, yeah, that's what it's like, you know, trying to fit in when you're a kid in the video about the nerd and all the kids driving by in the car and he can't be cool or be cast out. Maybe I felt like that kid a little bit when I was growing up, and you know, I was a Coke bottle glasses kid and had a wonky eye, and you know, was like always trying to, you know, so music's kind of what saved my ass in that respect, because I could play guitar pretty good by the time I was 14 or 13. And I remember people going like, you know, because I'd take it to school and jam, and it was like, wow, you can, like, he's a nerd, but he sure can shred. So that kind of saved my ass, because it was like I got to hang out with the cool kids somewhat then, you know. But I read that Subdivisions resonated with me. Sure it did, you know. My dad used to say, you know, that I turned out kind of, I remember him saying once, like, you turned out, you're so easygoing now. You used to be so uptight. What happened? Something like that. Because probably when I was a kid, I was kind of like moody and like a little like, I don't, you know, like my like ego easily bruised or whatever, and all this kind of stuff, you know. And I had a lot. And maybe music helped me get out of that a little bit. I don't know. I still am probably like that. Anyways, thanks for the super chat there, the Van Halen question. I appreciate it. I do. My go-to is always 2112. You're the 2112 era guy. Yeah, I get that. I love 2112 because of just the story behind it. The fact that they were, you know, down in the dumps when they were making that record. Like the label wanted to, you know, you better come up with a hit, or or whatever. And okay, let's go crash and burn on our own terms. We're gonna write 2112. That's just like the coolest, most badass. If we're gonna do this, let's make a concept record. You know, and the furthest thing away from whatever the label would have thought of as singles, and then it just blows up, and that's the most. It's punk rock, is what it is. It's the coolest. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? When is your birthday? I'm not telling. That's Paul. I guess you're not supposed to tell people that stuff on social media now. That's what they say, right? I don't know, because they can steal your identity and all that. But like, if you're sort of a public person, as I guess I sort of am, people figure it out anyway, you know. But yeah, I hate thinking about my birthday, to be honest. So, Mark says 250 ml has amazing clean tones. Was the first amp I ever played with sweepable mid control, life changing. Yeah, I had one at my house. I don't remember how. But I remember having one for a bit and trying it, and it wasn't mine. I borrowed it or rented it maybe or something from the music store. I don't know, but it was cool. So I have a memory. I've got like a little soft spot for the 250 ml as well. I do, and I think it would be neat if they made it again. You know, it's a cool little thing. Little, I mean, lunchbox amps are big, but nobody makes one that has little speakers built in stereo. It's like pretty cool, you know. So what if you made one like I said, Boss Waza style, where it had a switch to kind of get some more like maybe an analog delay and a more like typical overdrive sound, you know. But then you could put it in the classic '80s mode too. That'd be neat, right? Okay. Let's see. Any chance of classic rock show coming to the USA? I believe so. I think they would like to do that. So we'll see going forth. I would love to do a US tour with them. It would be really fun. Jeff says it was Caress of Steel and Fly By Night for me. After that, you were like, oh, I'm out by 2112. You are older. I know. You're like, no, that's great. That's cool. Grace Under Pressure was my first Rush album. I loved it. Middletown Dreams is amazing. It is. It's amazing sounding. Like it's like the production sounds amazing, right? Who produced that record? Peter Collins. Is that the guy's name? You know, they'd moved away from. Did it? I'm totally spacing on who produced Grace Under Pressure, and was it what's his name? Great producer. Also did Police and stuff. I'm totally spacing. Who produced Grace Under Pressure, and then who produced? I believe it was Peter Collins did Power Windows, I think. Uh, Signals was still Terry Brown, right? I think, right? Am I wrong? I think I should know this. Should know my Rush history better. What else? What else we got here? Crest of Steel is my favorite Rush album. I think you're correct. Peter Henderson did Grace. Peter Henderson. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was someone else, and I'm forgetting the name of the person I thought it was. But anyways, that's interesting. Okay. What else we got here? Jim says Pariah pickups, Pasadena white or black for a hard ash body. I think either would do good, actually. It just depends on whether you want a bit more push. You know, I would probably go. I love that Pasadena white pickup. I think it's very nice. So they did a great job on that pickup. And then a hard ash, brighter. You know, the A2 thing is very nice, I think. I was talking a little with Al Estrada about pickups and woods and stuff, and he was saying that for him, basswood doesn't really. It's a little too woolly. And I would agree with that, but I still like it. I don't mind basswood in that slightly warmer, you know, that soft. It's the polar opposite of the hard ash. So it's interesting that Eddie ended up using both at different times. But in those guitars, like actually, like in a basswood body, I think the VH2 pickup from Bare Knuckle could be a great choice. It's an A5. It's a little brighter and stuff, and that might pair well. So it's all a formula, you know. Or maybe like a Motor City second degree black belt. It's a brighter pickup, I've come to realize. You know, it's very bright in my hard ash Van Halen sort of guitar that I have here, the black one with the Taurus guard. So I might want to switch it out eventually, but it's a good pickup, a great pickup in a Les Paul and stuff, I think. So maybe just a little bright in that guitar. I've liked it traditionally in that black guitar I have, and I've used that pickup in videos, and people seem to like it and stuff like that. But I also have to find it very bright compared to my other guitars now. I've come to realize that it is really, really bright with that hard wood and the Floyd and stuff. So, any thoughts on hardtail Strats? Not really. I know a lot of people that I think Joe Bonamossa's favorite Strat is a hardtail, right? I think. So I don't have any experience with them because I've never owned one. But it seems like there's some credible guitar players out there, good guitar players that really like the hardtails. So I just equate a tremolo bar with I like having a whammy bar on a Strat. It's part of the way I play one. So for me, you know, if I want the Fender thing with no tremolo, I'll pick up a Tele, I think. That's just me though. Yeah. What else we got here? There's a super chat. Let's see. Come down, grab that just a second. Hemisphere's cool guitar sound. Absolutely. Yeah, killer guitar sound. Says Paul. Yeah, agreed. Alex, great sounds, you know, and I would love to talk to him at some point about, you know, I tried to contact him a while ago to see if he would ever do my show. I had no luck. I'm gonna work on that some more though, and some other guests coming up soon here. But um, yeah, you know, I think that um, his approach to sound was so interesting to me. The Alex approach I've talked about a little bit before, so I don't want to rehash. But you know, his whole like 2 amps blended thing, and always having a for a while he was doing those Marshall 4000s or 4104 or whatever the hell they were called. But he'd run one clean and one dirty, and then they'd blend them. I'd love to talk with him more about that. What exactly were you doing? Like it as far as just how clean was the one that was, you know, he'd have the clean and dirty amps. I think they'd literally just pull the faders up and down. And, you know, so when you're listening to some of those records, maybe Signals and maybe Moving Pictures, you know, I think as I understand it, I'm not sure I have this right, but as I understand it, I think they're recording a clean and dirty sound at the same time and then featuring the different tones at different points, you know. So I just don't really get like, where were the effects like in the how did you do that, and there's not a lot written about it, but to me it's some of the coolest guitar sounds from that era. So it's more mystery that I'd love to, you know, to you know, to get into. I don't agree with this, Jeff. Dave Grohl could only dream of being as good as Rush. He definitely not cool. Dave Grohl is one of the most badass modern drummers, not to mention that he plays great guitar too, and sings and writes songs. So define badass, I mean, he played drums on the new Halsey album. If nobody's heard the new Halsey album, I know we've been classic rockers here today, but let's get into some modern music talk for a second, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, listen to the new Halsey album, produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus, his longtime collaborator. It's amazing. It's a really, 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 really great record. Dave Grohl plays drums on a song called Honey perfectly. It's perfect drumming. Listen to his fills on that song. I mean, it's just like the way that guy powers into fills and plays the most musically appropriate, perfect fills to support the song. You know, he's an amazing rock drummer. Sorry, he's totally cool. He's maybe guilty of, you know, maybe overexposed every now and then, you know, too much out there and stuff like that. But he's a we can't not give Dave Grohl props. He's like he's you know, he was in Nirvana, and then he was in the Foo Fighters and did his own thing, and has worked with a million people and helped, you know, he's really helped keep rock and roll out there. You know, in a time where it's been tough, you know. But what he brings to this Halsey record on that tune is bitchin'. You got to listen to the record. Just trust me, the new Halsey record. Oh, it's good. Really good. Cool record. I mean, I'm a sucker for great female singer-songwriters. And I'm not super familiar with a lot of her past work, but I had to listen to this one, and it is good. My friend Ariana plays guitar with her. She's an amazing guitar player. She plays guitar with Halsey, and she also is playing guitar with Olivia Rodrigo, right? Who's also cool, and you know, she's young and like doing her thing and playing cool rock, and so she's got 2 great gigs right now. But pretty neat. Agree totally with Pete. She's beautiful, but she's also a truly cool, creative, and musical person. Yeah, I mean the record's good, you know, and the fact that she went to Trent and was like, "I want you to produce this record," he was like, "Really?" Because then you're gonna get what I do, and she was like, "Yes," you know, that's cool to me. It's a great record. Great. Alan says Dave's drumming on Songs for the Deaf is awesome. Agreed. Brilliant stuff, you know. There's a super chat up there that sorry, I didn't mean to neglect. Let's see here. Dimitri, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. When you release a gear demo, With an original piece of music, do you protect the song's rights with like SOCAN, or just upload it to YouTube and that's it? I like to keep that kind of a secret. Just in case anybody out there wants to steal anything. I'm coming for you if you do. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. You can totally. I mean, yeah, do the SOCAN thing. Register everything. Register everything. Sue everybody. I'm gonna sue everybody. Backing up here to the pickup talk, we were talking about some of the pariah pickups. Pasadena Reds in my Swamp Ash Floyd, and their killer a little brighter than the black. What's the red? Pasadena Red. I don't know that pickup. I thought there was just a black and a white. Is my friend from Pariah here? He could tell us. I'm interested. So bear with me as I do a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? So it's research. Research. Okay, so the Pasadena Red, within the ranks of our Pasadena series, you are likely to find characteristics akin to those early rock tones that changed the way guitarists would sound and be heard. Each Pasadena series pickup is a snapshot in time. I'm going to do a little voiceover for them right now. Each Pasadena pickup is a snapshot in time of eras gone by, akin to sounds that are forever imprinted on our eardrums. Standard fill, well, it's a 14.4K Alnico 2 situation. This leads me to believe that it's probably his version of the EVH modern pickups, because the neck pickup is a 16K, or more like maybe the Music Man, I think. Is that right? Would I be wrong to assume that? Folks that are hip to Pariah pickups, I think. Yeah. Pariah, there he is, coming in hot. A bit more like a Wolfgang with a bit more open qualities. Got it. There you go. Message to all guitar players: if you don't want me to steal it, don't play it. True. If you're interested in the Alex Lifeson tone, it's because he uses a piezoelectric pickup in his Les Paul, blends it with a knob, and adjusts it on stage. Well, that's the modern thing, and I am interested in that, and that's interesting. And I know he does that, and I know he uses an Axe effects and does some interesting things with. I don't know if it's tone matching or an IR, acoustic IR, but I know he does some things for closer to the heart and those types of acoustic sounds and stuff. But I'm talking about back in the day when he was using the sounds on the records, what he was doing back then. I would love to talk to him about that. Here's look at this. Buzz is coming in with the royalties preemptively. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the super chat. I do. It's 1:38. I had some problems at the beginning of the show. I'm going to go another 20 minutes or so to kind of compensate for that, because I've been going about 2 hours, but the beginning was a cluster. Let's put it that way. Due to my Spectrum. I hate it. I'm getting my own internet in here. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be amazing. How do you arrive at your favorite neck shape and fret wire? Well, that's an interesting question. A lot of trial and error, because you can think you might know. I mean, many times you just stumble on a neck and you're like, oh, this is amazing, and then that becomes your thing, right? But if you're trying to spec one, like let's say you're ordering a guitar from Xlr, or maybe from like a neck from Warmoth, and you're like, I don't know, you're kind of going in blind, like trying to order, and it can be difficult. The way I came about to the neck shape that's on my signature guitar, which is just the Even C Slim, normally that would be, I think it's slim, it's going to be too skinny. Actually, it's not. It's kind of I think it's a misnomer a little bit, like, because the neck isn't that slim. It's just kind of a nice modern C. Fret wire, I just have always known that I am a big fret kind of person since the 80s, because that's what was on the guitars then. You start playing, the Jacksons and the Charvels of the day and stuff, and they had these huge frets, Ibanez, and stuff, you know, and I got used to that. I liked the easy bending, and small frets always felt weird to me after that. So that's how that happened for me. But well, I think long story short is trial and error. You know, really trial and error, trial and error. Try and pronunciate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's another super chat there. Is that Dan? Yes. Just watch your show with Steve Stevens at the Iridium. Can you talk about that show? How was it to play with the band? It was fun. Anton Fig on drums, who's a legend. You know, Neil. I'm spacing on his. Is it? Oh, what was his name? Last name. I'm spacing. But the great bass player who had like recorded with John Lennon. He's on the Imagine album. I should know his name. I'm sorry for forgetting. And of course, Steve and Sebastian Bach, who's a wild man, exactly as you would expect him to be. A lot of fun. Um, yeah, he's a good time. Uh, hilarious. It was fun. It was a weird, like, you can, if you watch the videos, you can see Sebastian like, how's your dinner? Like, because it's like a supper club, you know, it's the Iridium. How's the pasta tonight? And then we go into an Aerosmith song or whatever. It was really fun. Steve just picked songs that he wanted to do, and you know, some fun stuff. And I've enjoyed my gigs with Steve over the years, and he's a good friend. You know, like anytime we've done a few different things like that together, and he's always a blast to play with. He's a sweet guy, and him and his wife are awesome people. And got to see them a little while ago. We actually went and had sushi, and it was really fun. So he's a great dude, and a badass, you know, on guitar. And he's a, you know, Steve Stevens is a he's got a really brilliant, you know, sort of knowledge and vast, you know, knowledge of like prog, and you know, he's really into, his favorite band of all time is Yes, and he was also really into King Crimson, and you know, so he's got a real appreciation. Not a Rush guy. He's not a Rush guy, but really likes you know, Yes was his jam. Steve Howe, and, you know, and also flamenco guitarists. You know, he's got this really wide, you know, and of course he loves, you know, Jimmy Page and Eddie Van Halen and stuff too. So you put that all together and you get Steve Stevens, and then combine that with, you know, Billy Idol, and you get a really interesting mix that we ended up with, some great music. You know, that was such a cool, really the combination of that punk rock joining with prog, and you ended up with some great music that I guess could only be defined as, you know, rock meets new wave, you know, and it was a really interesting combination. So I like big frets, and I cannot lie. All you others with your small frets can't deny. Never cared for Ibanez, Jim, Satch. Their guitars don't float my boat. You know, the one that I really actually like was the Satriani one. That was the one I always kind of wanted, like with the humbucker and the single in the neck, and the neck was a little more like a traditional. Felt like, which makes sense because he, like, you know, was playing Kramers and stuff, but it felt like an early '80s Kramer kind of thing, or like a C, you know, like a Kramer. What was the guitar? Pacer. I had a Pacer, and I think that's the guitar that Joe used on Surfing with the Alien, was largely recorded with, I believe, a Kramer Pacer with a Floyd, and so that would make sense that they maybe copied the neck. But that's what the neck reminded me of. It was just kind of like a, you know, maybe like a 12 radius with a nice round C kind of thing. So that guitar, I actually really, I liked it. And I see Joel Hoekstra has one too, and he uses it out on tour sometimes. He got one of the silver ones, I think. It's all silver, kind of neat. But yeah. Ibanez. Neil Jason, that was the fella that played bass on that gig. Nice guy. I haven't seen him since then. It was a long time ago. But you know, I thought, wow, this guy recorded with Lennon. It's amazing. Cool. You know. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? John says, I remember those wizard necks. Yeah, they made those really thin necks on the RG 550s and all that. I didn't like that neck either. Too thin to me. But the Satriani one was thicker. You know, it was a different neck shape. Yeah. And what else we got here? Do you ever listen to Steve Hackett? I mean, a little bit because I like Genesis. So not like a huge fan, but I listened to, you know, back in the day. Um, and there's some, you know, neat stuff. So um, for sure. I'm just seeing if I'm missing any other. Let's see. Licensed layering was always masterful in the studio. Yeah, it was really interesting, you know, how he did his stuff. I'd love to chat with him about it for sure. Here's a good question. Would you settle for a Marshall SV20 instead of a JT45 if you're playing Black Keys, Gary Clark? Uh, I think both could work. The thing about the SV20 is it's going to be um, I slightly. Oops, I got to plug my phone in here because battery's getting low. Uh, what was my well, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, SV20. So it's more lead spec Marshall. You're probably going to want a jumper if you want more like 45 like tones and blend in the normal channel. That's all. And the other day I got to play a really nice transition era JTM 45 meets 50 watt solid state rectified, like maybe 67 Marshall 50 watt. That Friedman was tweaking for somebody. Amazing sounding amp. It started out as a 45 front end, but has solid state rectifier. And then somebody was buying it, and Dave was doing some work on it. And Dave was like the kind of the, you know, orchestrating the sale or whatever, this amp. So they wanted a bit more aggressive sound. So when it was 45 spec, it had a great like up to AC/DC Black Crowes kind of distortion to it. It sounded really good, but anything beyond that, it futzes out a bit and gets too in the low end and didn't sound so good. Dave made the simple changes to convert the front end to lead correct, you know, like 67, 68, 69 lead spec 50 watt. And then then you can just Van Halen it and put it on 10 if you want. Both were cool sounds, but you know how Marshalls are kind of like, what I'm getting at is they can be one trick ponies a little bit. Like for the up, there's lots of tones in these amps, you know, where you can combine the channels and use pedals and, you know, get work around. But you know what I'm talking about? How like a Marshall kind of, oh, there it is, like it's 6 on the volume on this one, or it's 8 on the volume on this one, or you know, on those old 4-hole Marshalls, they seem to have a kind of a sweet spot, a magic sweet spot. So, anyways. I think, long story short, you can get there with either. But if you really want that 45 lower gain fat, you know, it's not as aggressive as a front end. It's a more full frequency kind of sound. How else would you describe it? Like a Bassman, you know, more like a, you know, that where if you're playing maybe with single coils, lower gain stuff or whatever, they sound full. They're not as mid pokey kind of high endy. That's that 45 sound to me. But anything beyond that, you know, gain wise, when you turn them up, they get too futzed out, right? And then the lead spec. So it just depends what you want and your guitars and stuff. I would Black Keys, Gary Clark Jr. I think the 45 is probably the best amp for that stuff, but the 20 will work fine if you blend in the bass channel. It just might not be quite as amazing, you know. But they're less money and it's probably lower volume than a to the 10 watts less. I mean, I think the JTM 45 is, if it's tube rectified, is really only 30, 35 watts or something like that. So you got a lot of factors there to consider. I don't know. It's a bit of a non-answer, but I think ultimately the JTM 45 is probably really what would get you there, but the 20 will work too and do it nicely, I think. That's my honest answer. This is also speculative. A little something for the coffee fund. Thanks, Bruce. What's the best way to run delay, before or after the reverb? That's a great question. I like it before, generally speaking, because I always feel like, you know, if you got a lot of reverb happening, then the reverb goes into the delay, and then the delays, that's a little weird. But both can work, you know, whatever works. I would generally run delay. I generally run reverb last. If I'm running a series effect chain, reverb is the last thing. And if we're talking about time-based effects, it's generally my mod stuff, and then the delay, and then the reverb, in that order. So I do it. 450 people online. I can't go then. I gotta stay. Let's stay for a little while longer. If you all are here and you all are in, if you're in it to win it, let's talk some more guitar for a few minutes. Paul says, just wanted to send you a gift super chat. Dude, thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I ran across an old, I remember West Tone guitars. Anybody remember West Tone guitars? I remember those. In good shape with a Bendmaster tremolo. Bendmaster. Was that like, I'm thinking of the Washburn thing, the Wonder Bar. Remember that thing? It was like the size of the whole guitar. It's like the biggest bridge ever made. Maybe not as big as a Bigsby, but big, you know. At a pawn shop the other day, would that be a good deal? If it speaks to you, if it's like this guitar is going to make my life complete, then you should probably do it. I don't know. I don't know. Can you talk about your Gil Urin 59 burst? Sure. I mean, Gil does a beautiful guitar. I don't know that he's building those anymore, you know, exactly like that because of, you know, the powers that be and all that legalities of things. But Gil's goal with the guitars was to make them exactly the same as they used to. So down to how they would shape the neck to get the shape. You know, when he tells the story, he did a Tim and Pete's guitar show where he tells the story about going to visit the old Heritage / Gibson guitar factory in Michigan, and how they showed him how they shaped the necks back in the day, because there was a couple guys that still there from the 50s. It's fascinating stuff, you know, like the sanding of the neck and how you had to kind of do it that way that made it feel. Gil's really into all that stuff, like how to get to exactly what they did down to how they did it. So like we're gonna rig up the sander, you know, in the same way they did, and I'm gonna do it like they did. So if you appreciate that kind of attention to detail, there's nobody better, you know. The guitar has a nylon nut on it, for example, and which isn't, you know, a lot of people think, oh, bone nut, that's the thing, you know. Well, they were nylon back then, I guess. And Gil's whole thing was, not doing it because it's the best nut material. I'm doing it because that's how they did it. You know, if you want that thing, then I'm doing every single little thing that they did to give you that thing. More so than Gibson, you know, historic or anybody going to these crazy lengths to, some might say crazy, but, you know, others might say, well, that's totally logical. He's just doing it the same way, and you're going to end up with hopefully the same result. So I really appreciated that about it. And when I got the guitar, I was blown away when I plugged it in, and for the first time. And it's just kind of a magic Les Paul, really, is what it is. It's a great sounding guitar, and it kind of quenched my thirst, my desire for that type of instrument. Because for a long time, I felt like, oh, you know, new ones are not as good or they're lacking. I had a 54, so, and I sold it like a moron. I've talked about it before. Never should have done that. And I've always regretted that. And because of that imprint on my mind of what that guitar sound and played like, and the way the finish feels while you're playing them and stuff, you know, all that stuff. If you've played old ones, you know that a lot of the new ones, they just don't quite feel the same or quite look the same. Or sound is one thing, but it's like the feel and the vibe is such a, you know. So I always remember, is it Tom, the fellow from the Les Paul forum that has a big collection of Les Pauls? And I remember him getting one and posting up photos on the Les Paul forum and things like that, and saying like, this guy's cracked the code. You know, Gil Urin, he got one. He's like, this guitar hangs with my old ones, because he had 59s, 58s. And that's what really, I thought, well, that guy knows. He must know. So I'm just going to do it. So I ordered one. And I did not regret it, you know. The one thing that it showed up in like a box with this case that was like not great. And he had to change his cases after a while because people were complaining. But I mean, my guitar was, when I pulled it out of the box, I was like, oh, I hope it's okay. It's a Les Paul in a case like this. It's been shipped halfway around the world. I opened it up and it was fine. But anyways, he started, you know, getting those better Gator cases that were more, you know, later on. But I think he was putting a little bit too much trust in the beginning, maybe into the you know, FedEx and UPS, and, you know. But anyway, nonetheless, it was an amazing guitar, and I still have it and I love it. So now I think Gibson has come a long way, you know, since then. Like I remember around 2013, 2014, after I got that guitar, they started doing more like remember that was when I started going to Japan, and in Japan they have a lot of reissue or new Les Pauls or Les Paul historics. You can go in shops over there and they'll have 25, R9s on the wall. It's like, oh my God, like there's the stock of guitars in these stores in Japan. If you ever saw any of my photos or videos I took over there, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. Like, is there enough guitar players to buy all these? Like, how do these stores make money? But anyways, I remember them having these huge selections, and then primo, they'd get like really good tops and things over there in Japan, and so playing some of those guitars, going, oh, these seem a lot closer to my Yarin to me, like what they're doing is 2013, 2014, they made some leaps and bounds better, at the custom shop, and then Gibson changed hands. To be honest, the latest ones I haven't played very much. Maybe it's just because I haven't been in Japan in a couple of years, pandemic and everything else. It's like, haven't been over there, but I would like to play some more. And do you like Zappa at all? Zappa was like some of the earliest, like when I started listening to music, I remember having Shut Up and Play Your Guitar, You Are What You Is. I remember Ship Too Late to Save a Drowning Witch. You remember like Valley Girl and all that came out? That was when I was a kid and listening to music. And so that made an impact on me, an imprint, and then of course Steve Vai, Flexible came out, and I was fascinated with that when it came out, and so that was kind of my, but I must say I never became like a massive fan, like going back to Mothers, and like I had that initial kind of like a couple records sort of thing around 1980, 81, 82, where I was like listening and spent some time listening then. That was the majority of me listening to Zappa, honestly. Was kind of the records that. Oh man, my phone is getting ready to crash. Let me double check the internet here and see if I'm getting a faster download speed right now, because I've got about 10% battery life, and I know I'll lose you guys. I should go anyway pretty soon, but I'm just gonna run another speed test on the computer. See if for whatever reason Spectrum has got it together with the download speed. And I'll go back to the computer for a minute. It's crazy. If you can watch my speed test if you want to, right here. I'm getting 675 meg per second download. That's super fast. And the upload is, come on now, look at that, 1.1. That's why I'm on the phone. Screaming download speed, awful upload speed. Thanks, Spectrum. How about we don't pay you for that bullshit? Anyway, I'll go another 5 minutes here, and then the phone will probably cut off. I gotta go anyway and get some more stuff done today. But I just feel bad. We got 457 people online. Should I start doing this later? Everybody shows up later. Maybe I should start at 1 instead of 11:30 or 11:40 when I start. Okay, just gonna look through the end of the chat here, answer a couple more questions, see what we got. Any tips on setting up your amp and guitar for treble pickup, but be able to switch to middle? It's largely dependent on your pickups. That's what we designed the Thornbuckers to do, was like you can set up your amp for a great treble pickup sound. If you go to the middle, it sounds good. You don't have to, you can set it up for any position. It'll sound good in all three positions. So if you don't like the sound, I would say if it's a double, I'm assuming it's a double humbucker guitar. I don't know why. You could be a Telly or something. But if you're finding it's too woolly or not clear, back down the neck pickup a little bit, and maybe especially drop the bass side and see if that helps. If it's a Les Paul, you can try and lower the volume a little bit of the neck pickup. And that's kind of the Jimmy Page thing, was he was always living in the middle position and like varying the volumes of the pickups for the more or less clarity of kind of mixing the two pickups, So, take that for what you will. You can experiment with that kind of thing. See if that's helpful. Ben Coombe says, upload is what we care about. Yeah, exactly. I know. It sucks. But have you played your SLO recently, says Steven. I played mine with a straight up rock band and it was glorious. They're a great amp, and it's a sound. I did actually use it on something. I was cutting a solo for somebody, and it was a high gain modern kind of thing. And I just thought, I haven't used that amp for this type of thing, and I want to use it for something because I have it here, so I used it. I could have easily gone with my PT-15 or PT-100, gone a little bit more Marshall vein, but the SLO just worked for the part. I played the Silver Sur I have with the EMGs in it, and through the SLO, and so that's coming out on somebody's record pretty soon, and it sounded great, worked really good. Pros or cons of having your studio space separate from your living. I guess it's like when you go home, you can go home, relax. When you're at work, you can work. You don't have this crossover. That's generally what I find is that some people find they like having the studio at home because then they can, especially if they have kids or something, they can duck in the studio and then, they can, but other people find that to be not a good thing. They want, when they go to work, they want to go to work, and then when they come home, they want to come home. I've been playing more at home. I've been practicing at home, which is nice. For a long time, I didn't do that though. I did all my playing in this room. So if you like to separate those things, it can be good, but maybe you don't want to separate those things. I guess it just depends on the type of person you are, yeah. Let's see here. Have you used your Waza headphones at home? I mainly used them when I was on tour with Classic Rock Show for like warming up and stuff. That was when I was using them, but I haven't used them at home. At home, I'll tend to just plug into I've got little, Dyne audio monitors and a little interface and stuff, and I'll tend to do that at home. I imagine once I go on tour again. Somebody was asking if I have any tours in the works. The Classic Rock Show just announced a bunch of dates in the UK for January, February, so that's happening. And I've got some other stuff to announce too, but I'll do that next week, I think. Yeah. What else we got here? Anybody else? Or am I going to go? It's now 2:01, so we've been online for, I've been going about 2 hours, 20 minutes. I should probably split. Anybody else? Anything? Can I help? With anything? Let's see. Do you prefer two knobs in your Strats like the EMG loaded Strat you posted recently? The only reason that has that is because that's a pickguard they sent with those pickups. That was an EMG thing. I have a couple Strats with two knobs, and my signature guitar has two knobs. So really, I'm kind of okay with it. I don't use the tone control that much. Just don't. It's always on 10. So, unless I'm going for a certain thing, like a woolly, warm neck pickup, whatever woman tone thing. If I'm doing that, I might roll the tone down. But other than that, not so much. On a 3 single coil guitar, though, sometimes I do like having the tone control just on the bridge pickup. Like on my green Sir, the Cactus Green one, it's got two knobs. That was a guitar I didn't order, somebody else did, so it was ordered that way. But I had them put the tone control only on the bridge pickup on that guitar so that I could roll the single down to like 7 in the bridge. And I'm fine with that. I don't even miss, so there's no tone control in the neck in the middle. I'm fine with it. Probably a little brighter because there's no load on those, for the extra load from the tone control. Glad to see you back overseas. Thanks for everything. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I will be there. I think I'll be there. It's looking like I'll be there. Any knowledge on the big fire that occurred in LA where many, including Friedman stuff, is made? I mean, yeah, it was an accidental fire that occurred by, I believe it was like a homeless encampment kind of thing where they folks, I don't know what happened exactly, but it's unfortunate. But long story short, they've relocated and they're getting up to speed again and everything, and pretty much up to, I think there was a lot of expense and a lot of hassle and a lot of whatever to get back up and going, but they did it pretty damn quick. And because there's a lot of orders and music is, it would probably really, it was difficult as it was for Boutique and those folks, but I think it would probably be a lot more difficult if music gear sales weren't so screaming right now. It's like, just like the people want to buy instruments and amps and guitars and pedals and things right now. So it's like the orders were there. They just had to get set up again. It's a massive outlay and expense and all that to do it, I'm sure. And then now that they're doing it, they're building, and it's like they're playing catch up. I think we're probably, having to, obviously they're going to have bills to pay and stuff like that. But the demand seems to be there for the gear. So long story short, I think they're going to be okay. That's that. Did you do a video on the EMGs? No, I haven't, but I've, that's Bruce Black. I have used that guitar on a number of things recently, and I will continue to, so you'll hear them anyway, I have signature pickups and stuff, so it's like I don't know that I'll make them a dedicated video, but I think you'll see those pickups being used. But it's a great guitar for quiet. I could sit in this position I'm in right now, looking this way, and it's very, very quiet. It gets a little noisier when I move this way, but this is my crazy room. It's just got some, RF in the air, and That's just how it is. So, what do you do with your older amps, heads, and the tubes? Are you keeping up with them? You know, I just did my old Marshall. I just did the one over there. I just did Siemens. Oh God, I have a minty old pair of like brand new Mullard XF4s in the box. They red plated 10 minutes in. Those tubes would be $500 for the pair. You know, I've had them for 10 years. I put them in the amp. I mean, they're beautiful. They've got the Mullard print. They're NOS Mullard matched pair. They red plated instantly in that amp. So it was like, oh God, and it was like, whatever. So I've got about 5 or 6 pairs of Siemens EL34s, and I put those in. They sound great. So that amp has those in it now, and changed the front end preamp tube was one that Friedman recommended. Actually, it was this Fender 7025 that we don't know, it's probably US made or something, but I mentioned the JTM 45 amp I got to play through that he converted to lead spec. He put one of those in the front end. It just sounded amazing. He's like, yeah, I don't know what it is about these tubes. These one tube that they're labeled Fender 7025 and they sound great. So we popped one in mine too, and it sounded great. So it's got right now Chinese in the middle and the phase inverter, this Fender 7025 in the V1, and then old Siemens 34s, and it sounds killer. So it really sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, I keep up on it. I don't, you know, I use mostly my modern amps in here, so it's like it's a lot of PT15, PT100, and then some of the other ones, and you know, they don't tubes will last a long time, especially if they're new old stock or old ones. You know, like old. It's the new production that don't last quite as long, but even they last a long time. So it's, you know, I'm not beating them up on gigs every day, playing them 2-3 hours a day at loud volumes. I'm using them on occasional things in here, and they'll, you know, those Siemens will probably last. I mean, who knows if I'll ever need to change them, you know, if I don't tour with the amp. Why don't you ever play live on your Sunday live? If you hear me like talking and answering, you know, it's just like this has become the format for this. This is not so much playing. Occasionally, I'll pick up a guitar if somebody asks, like, "How do you pick on this thing?" or whatever. I'll do it. But this is more about questions about gear, career, stuff like that. That's what I do on this. You know, a little bit more than it ever being a playing guitar thing. It's a little bit more talking about tone, talking about equipment, talking about, you know. But I do occasionally. Somebody will ask me like, "How do you do this?" or whatever, and I'll do a quick unamplified lesson on something. Right? It happens. But it's just, you know, 186 weeks of this now. This is what we've got into. My niece heard says, "What is red plate?" That's when the tubes, for whatever reason, fail and they start to glow like cherry red. I heard the amp like start to drop in volume, and it's like, oh, it sounds terrible all of a sudden. And then it's like the tubes are just like lighting up like a Christmas tree, you know. And I was like, oh, damn it. There they go. And there kind of ain't no coming back from that. So, yeah, is what it is. Do you accept unsolicited music plugs? I finished an album. That's Leroy. I don't generally, but I would appreciate tips. The number one tip I can give you is just get it out there in every way you can. You know, via Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, and build your thing. You know, and find your people. Places like the Gear page, you know, where if you post on any gear forums and people know you, you can always put, you know, hey guys, I got a new record out or whatever. Please check it out. And that kind of stuff was what worked for me when I put out my first record, and then my second record. It was like, you know, the Gear page, like it was like I didn't have as big of a YouTube following then or Instagram, and it was like that was really an avenue to get my stuff out there. And you know, because they had a couple 100,000 members, and it was like you could post there and, hey, Pete's got a new record out, let's check it out. You know, it was a great resource, just grassroots stuff. So utilize all that stuff. A couple super chats. There's a super sticker from Campus Rent House. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Thanks for all the super chats. I do appreciate it. I hit up Dave on the DeMartini signature, and he didn't deny. I think that, you know, that we're all friends with Warren now. I love Warren. He's a great guy. You know, that'll probably be something to see someday. I mean, they have to, you know, there's business to be done and all that, but I'd love to see that too. It'd be amazing. I think Pete plays enough guitar and every other thing. It might be a refreshing different. It is. It's kind of like, because all week long I do the gear videos and put them out and stuff on here, and then this is a nice where I can just gab with you guys or whatever, as opposed to here's my hot licks. You know, is the Euros with 2K in your opinion? I don't understand. Sorry, Neil. I need more details. Is the Euros with 2K in your opinion? I don't understand.
I am apologizing for my lack of understanding.
Thoughts on the CKK Scream Honey? Amazing pedal. Into an old Marshall. That's what he designed it for, and it's great. And it's you just reminded me. I want to try it on my board actually for a lead boost. Maybe I'll use it for the classic rock show or something. Been using an Archer forever, which is awesome, and that'll always be great. But it's a different sound. I think it's a bit more like high gain, upper frequency harmonic stuff than the Archer, which is low gain, more clon like muscle boost. Different sound. So both cool. Is there a rule for pickup height? No, whatever sounds good, Robert. Whatever sounds good. That said, generally I like to set the neck pickup a little lower because there's more energy, unless it's real low output compared to the bridge pickup. But the rule is balance them using a clean sound. That's what I always say, and then check it with distortion. But balance your pickups, the heights, and relative heights as well as the height of the treble side and the bass side. Do it using a nice neutral clean sound, and set up the volumes so that when you switch to the different pickups, they don't jump or go down or whoa, this one sounds really bassy. Well, then you should drop the low string side of the pickup and angle it a bit. Set up using a clean sound, no compression, no overdrive, and then check it with overdrive and make sure you like it. There's enough kick and all that. Yeah. Do you bias your own amps? No, I leave that up to the professionals, folks like Friedman. 32 milliamps, CL34s, that kind of thing. Stephen Douglas says, did you see that Mateus is playing with Bruno Mars? I did, yeah. I knew he was filling in a while ago, and I think he's more like a part of the band now. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think so. So that's great for him. A terrific gig. Bruno Mars is amazing. Yeah. Do you think the time of big amps and stacks is over? No, it's just more niche now. Some people will always use them. I mean, the Black Keys, the guy has like an 810 cabinet on stage, one of those big old Marshall 810s. There's still people that are going to want to use that stuff. So, maybe the era of the 6 412s and all that might be kind of not such a thing anymore. But, the sound people took over and they wanted quieter stages and things. And now it's different. But, hey, Government Mule, you're still seeing Warren with SLOs and, Jurgen, my buddy, the bass player, has big amps out there and they're a nice loud stage and all that. There's still going to be bands that do it that way. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Fareed says, my dad used to work for Mullard in the 80s. That's cool. The end of the era, kind of when they were still making like, XF4s and stuff like that. The ones that, maybe your dad made the ones that just red plated on me. Can you ask him if he can send me another pair? What else? You owned a 57 Gold Top reissue. Can you talk about that guitar? It was a 2000 and something R7 with a great big fat D neck on it. One of those big. I think of it as a D neck. I don't know if that's what you call it, but it was one of those fat ones. Had a Brazilian board on it. I think it was made in 2003. That guitar, nice guitar. I sold it to a cool guy, and I think he still has it. Big neck, really big neck. Guns N' Roses had the plug pulled on them mid-encore for breaking curfew. Thoughts? Rock and roll. I like it. AC/DC has all the Marshalls on stage. They will always do it, won't they? Well, as long as they're still around. What's your favorite bands that are not rock and metal? I like a lot of different stuff, man. I mean, honestly, my favorite bands, Beck. I think Beck made the greatest record of the last 20 years with the Morning Phase album. It's an absolutely beautiful album that is put up there with just about anything that I've ever heard, to be honest. The Beatles and everything else. It's absolutely. I wish Beck would start a band. They did a track together recently, and it was kind of like, okay, but it was cool. But Paul McCartney and Beck, they should do a band, and get some other folks. I think that'd be amazing. Get some other, similarly talented people in that band. That'd be pretty damn cool. How about Paul McCartney back? Let's get Grohl on drums. He'd be great. And John Paul Jones. Why not? Well, maybe we need another singer. He doesn't really sing that much, does he? Who would be a great bass player? I don't know. Anyway, because I'm thinking about Paul playing you need a multi-instrumentalist because when Paul plays bass, when Paul plays guitar, Paul plays keys. So we need a multi-instrumentalist. That's right. What else we got here? Beck's band is pretty awesome, always. Yeah, he's brilliant, I think. I mentioned the new Halsey album for folks that haven't heard that. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross production. It's one of the best records I've heard in a long time. It's really great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, guys, I should split because the phone's going to die anyway, I think. I'm going to go get some lunch and get some work done and stuff. This has been fun. Next week, I'll be sure to check the internet speed if I don't have internet by then, but I'm calling AT&T because I'm tired of Spectrum. Screw them. So I'll get it hooked up. One way or another, I'll be here like this, and I won't have the delay because I'm not. It used to be I didn't have to like do a speed test before every show, and now it seems like I do to make sure it's working. And it's gotten to the point where I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I want a modem in this room. I don't even want Wi-Fi. I just want my phone works fine for. I want like hardwire internet modem, Ethernet cable, computer. That's what I want. I don't have that right now. Okay, everybody, thanks so much. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in a week. Take care.